All right, and we're live. Good evening, folks. Right now, I'm just gonna check around all the streams, make sure everything's good. But if you can hear me and see me loud and clear, let me know. And also, let me know if I sound good. Is anything like good or not? All that stuff before we get started. So right now, I'm just checking streams on YouTube. Looks like YouTube is all good. Let's see. All right, yeah, we're live on YouTube. Sweet. Gonna check Twitter as well. Gotta be live on there as well. All right, sweet. Getting some feedback. We can see and hear you. All right. YouTube is all good. All right, perfect. I'm gonna close YouTube out. I'm gonna check. Well, X. It's X now. Let's see. Let's check X. Make sure X is good. Let's see. Profile. Yeah, X is great. Awesome. And then finally LinkedIn, which is probably where most of you saw this. Oh, perfect. All right, LinkedIn is perfect. All right, awesome. Thank you to everyone for joining the stream. We're gonna get started here in a second. First, after I turn this thing down, because it's pretty loud. Just a second here. All right, there we go. It's kind of like static in the background. All right, we got 42 people right now. So before I bring all of our guests to the stage, if you could do me a favor of liking this, commenting, sharing it, all of that, just gonna make sure like we get this stream out. That would be really great. One last thing I need to check is Twitch as well. It's been a while since I streamed on Twitch. Let's check Twitch, just make sure the stream is good, and then we'll get started. All right, let's see. Let's see. It's been a while since I streamed, so sorry to keep you waiting while I confirm everything. 1 second here. Not used to Twitch. Oh, okay, looks like I'm live. I'm live. Okay, perfect. Great. All right, so all the checks are done. We're all good. I'm gonna go ahead and turn off the music. We've heard enough of that. And all right, perfect. And I'm gonna go ahead and bring up all of our guests to the stage. There we go. Awesome. All right. Good evening, everyone. Thank you all for joining the stream. Thank you to the guests for being part of this. This is amazing. This is a conversation that I feel like a lot of people have been kind of waiting to hear about. So it's kind of great to have all these amazing folks here to kind of talk about their bootcamp experience, right? This whole stream is all about cybersecurity bootcamps. I know that's a question a lot of people have. You know, whether they're just starting out cybersecurity. Mostly the people that are starting out cybersecurity, like, you know, it's definitely one of the most polarizing questions or, you know, cases, or I don't know, different things, whatever you want to call it, in our industry with regards to boot camps. Like a lot of people tell you, oh, don't go to boot camps. Some people tell you, oh, boot camps are great, but it's all, depending on the individual. So I felt like it would be great to have a conversation with folks who have, gone the boot camp route, have different experiences, and I get them to share, their experience with it. So with that being said, let's get started with like kind of a roundtable introduction of all the folks we have here. So let's get started with you, Josh D. You want to get us with your introduction? Who you are?
Yeah, man. My name is Joshua, Joshua Davis. I have been in the IT cybersecurity tech industry since I was 18 years old when I joined the military straight out of high school. So about 6 years, and just ready to get started and talk about this journey that I've been on. Hard work. I've been
Yeah,
following Dave for a while, some years from the very beginning. So very very loyal viewer. So and proud of you, man. Proud of how far you've come and seeing what you've been doing in the industry. Definitely motivated me and a few of my other colleagues. I put a lot of people on to your channel and to your content, and they learned a lot. I learned a lot, and here I am now.
that's amazing, man. Thank you so much for that introduction, Josh. Let's move on to Lee. Do you want to get started with the introduction about yourself?
Yeah, so can you hear me? Right?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Yeah, so yeah, just as you said, my name is Lee. I am a security engineer at a DoD company. I have been been in the IT space now for about 7 years. Has some military background out the Air Force, and then joined into the tech world in the private sector. For the most part, I interact with these types of engagements as I see fit to try to help other people along the way that has these same questions, or as the landscape is changing for getting into the tech industry, trying to keep people with the latest routes and the best practices and best actions to take, which is why I joined your Discord and several other Discords as well to just try to bring more awareness to the situation. But that's who I am in a nutshell.
Awesome. Thank you for that introduction, Lee. And real quick, before I get to you, Nigel, I'm going to drop a link to our Discord chat. So I'm going to drop that in the comments here. Definitely join the Discord. It's a great place to meet people and just connect with all of us. So absolutely that. Yeah, let's get into you, Nigel. Do you want to give us an introduction about yourself?
Yeah, absolutely. So my name is Nigel. I've been in tech for only about 2.5 years. I've been in cybersecurity for about 2 years. I'm a lead threat intelligence analyst, and my journey into tech has been kind of unique. Just being able to talk about my perspective from a boot camp. I did attend a boot camp, and ever since then, just building a personal brand, but also networking with other cybersecurity professionals in the field. And, that's just really my journey and where I'm at right now. So.
Gotcha. Thank you for that introduction, Nigel. Let's move on to Charles. Charles, do you want to give us an introduction about yourself?
Cool. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Cool. Oh, I don't think it's connected to my headphones. Oh, whatever. It doesn't matter. Yeah, my name is Charles. I'm 20 years old, and I'm a full-time student at Western Governors, specializing in AWS cloud computing. Over the summer, I interned at Centene as a security engineer, and last week, I just signed a extension offer as a ServiceNow engineer, part-time for the fall as I finish my degree. All my life, I've worked in healthcare, IT, so why not put those together? And now I work at Centene, which is it's a Fortune 22 government-sponsored healthcare company that I love working at.
Yeah. That's awesome. Thank you for the introduction, and congrats on the extension. Those are typically, internships and stations, return offers, those are typically hard to get. So congrats on that.
Thank you.
All right, let's go ahead to David. It's good to actually meet you, David, like I guess virtually, but yeah, how you doing?
Good, man. How you doing? Yeah, thanks for having me on here, and it's great meeting you virtually as well. I feel like we've been interacting on LinkedIn for quite some time.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Glad to have you on here. Let's see who we have next. So this kind of got messed up. Yeah, the last person here is Josh. Josh M. You want to give us an introduction?
Yeah. So I'm Josh. I'm also a fan of your content. I am a bootcamp attendee. I've been working at I'm a researcher, so I do research security research for a company called Battelle. Um, so yeah, and I'm excited. I'm aspiring to do detection engineering, so definitely a big fan of you and all your guests and stuff like that.
Absolutely. Thank you for doing this, Josh. So that being said, let's go ahead to the first question we have. We have a couple of questions here, and we're gonna try to like get through each of them. So let's do this. Let's get started with the first question. The first question is going to be, what motivated you to enroll in the Cybersecurity Bootcamp? And before we go into the answers, what we're going to do is we're going to make sure we have a timer so that everyone has enough time to answer the questions. So we want to keep it as succinct as possible so that, you know, we can kind of get through everybody on the panel, because we have a lot of people on here and want to respect people's time. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to real quick here, I'm going to present my other screen here is going to have a timer for all of us. Present, share screen, and I think it should allow me to do this. All right, present share screen. Oh my goodness. Wow. Okay, there we go. Window, and then we have this. All right, boom. Wow, tech is so hard. Anyways, I'm gonna zoom this in and I'm gonna give each and everybody 2 minutes to go over what motivated them to get started with the boot camp. Let's see. Let's hit this up. All right. I promise I will get better at this over time. Okay. Thank you very much for understanding. So, what motivated you to enroll in the Cybersecurity Bootcamp? 2 minutes. Let's get started with Josh. Josh D.
Yeah, so what motivated me was experience. I wanted to get experience from a reliable source and from experienced professionals. So that's what motivated me to join a boot camp, and trying to find one that was not too expensive, something that was reliable, something that had great reviews, and something that would also allow me to learn in a way that is convenient for me and for my lifestyle. So to get a job in this industry, experience is something that they really, really look at in majority of these job boards. And I noticed that, and I took that into my own hands. I learned a lot on my own through YouTube videos, doing different labs. And then I wanted to put that to the test in an actual environment, which I'll get to later on into the description of the boot camp that I attended.
Got you. Thanks for keeping that succinct, Josh. And let's move on to next person here, Lee. What motivated you to get into a boot camp?
Well, the boot camp reached out to me for the most part. It found me from a random, one of those recruiting calls. Don't know how they got a hold of my information, but it was right after I separated from the military, and this is where I was just in a phase of trying to see what I wanted to do. I did some IT work in the military, but I did not know if I wanted to continue that route.
Right.
So I was trying to pursue other things, but they called me to say, hey, we are trying to get, veterans into our program, and, we won't have to pay anything. It's covered through GI Bill, the X, Y, and Z. You get these certifications. We give you these tech skills and get you on job placements and things like that. So I said, well, I'm not doing anything anyway. Why not just try it out and see if I really want to continue doing a career in IT? So I took those courses and got through it. So that's the reason I guess enrolled, but it wasn't a sought after type of thing for me.
Gotcha. Thanks for going into those details. All right. Who do we have next? Let's see who's next year. Josh M. What made you decide to go to a bootcamp?
Yeah, so for me, it was mainly upskilling. So
Mm,
I wanted to upskill like from like I had experience as a SOC analyst, and I knew like I could do it, but I just wanted to get better at my craft.
right.
Like I honestly I was not gonna do the boot camp because at the time like I had just gotten an offer at my current position, and
Mhm.
I was like gonna like forego the boot camp because I didn't had a job. Like I got the job, so I didn't need it. But at the same time, I was like, okay, let me get better. And then someone at the boot camp told me like, okay, like it'll be a good chance for you to like refine your skills as you're starting this new position. And like it definitely took me from like level 5 to like level 10, I would say. Like
Mm,
so because I got like more insights from people who were like experts in the field,
yeah.
not just like people at my company or my coworkers. I had gotten out of a SOC job like the previous year, which was like bad. So like if you're in like a ticket farm, it's
Hmm.
like, oh, you're just doing tickets and you're not really learning every day. So from that, I was able to like get better. And
Yeah.
yeah, I just gotta, getting better skills. That's the big thing.
Gotcha. All right. And then up next, who do we have? David, what inspired you to join a bootcamp?
Yeah, first thing would be opportunity.
Mm,
It was during the height of COVID, and I actually come from a background of intel analysis. That's what I did, studied in college, and then also I came from a background of recruiting IT and software and security individuals. And I'd been, being able to recruit people, you have to understand and know the language. And I'd kind of been just super deep in studying and being able to talk to individuals and recruit them. It kind of seemed like the perfect choice. So um, the opportunity presented itself because my brother, someone who had already gone through a boot camp and gotten a job in data analytics,
yeah.
introduced it to me because of my background in intelligence analysis. And it seemed like a really, really good fit. And also, really what motivated me to enroll was the structured learning. So there's two ways I always say to get into security or tech. It's YouTube videos and doing it self-paced. And I'm the type of person where structure is super super huge. And this
Yeah.
is always kind of my tidbit for boot camps is you can you can kind of get analysis paralysis when you're just looking at all this open source information, people posting 50 links on their LinkedIn to various
Yeah.
different information. So I had someone who said, hey, and it's a reputable company. They had a lot of people get into a lot of different security jobs and software engineering jobs.
Hmm.
So it just seemed like it made sense, and it created a really structured learning for me, to where I was actually able to get a job out of it afterwards, which I'll dive into it further later. But that's really what motivated me was opportunity, structured learning, and then a boot camp that was pretty vetted in itself from reviews and people who got jobs as well.
Gotcha. Yeah, thanks for going to those details, David. Let's move on next to Charles. Charles, what made you choose a bootcamp? Looks like you are on mute.
All right, can you hear me now?
Yeah.
All right, cool. I just switched to my headphones. Yeah,
Right.
so I attended Springboard for those in the chat that I can see asking about Springboard. So I guess I can start from my freshman year of college. I attended Rutgers for computer science, but I didn't really enjoy the aspect of sitting down and just coding all day. So
Hmm.
I decided not to pursue software engineering, which was my full intent going into college. After that, about a year, 2 semesters, right? I was like, oh, I want to change it up. So I started watching your videos, Sandra's videos, the Unix guy, I believe, and then
Yeah.
some other people's videos about cyber and WGU. And then I took 1 semester to transfer out to WGU. But before that, I wanted to try out cyber first. So I went to
Yeah.
Springboard. Well, first I researched and watched some YouTube videos, and then I went to Springboard. Obviously the cost was definitely high, but 100% worth it. It wasn't my money. It was my parents. They had a college fund saved up for me for I had an offer from Georgia Tech, and I decided not to transfer to Georgia Tech for computer science. I know they're like rank 3, and I don't regret my decision. So they had a little extra money sitting around for my transfer to GT, but I decided not to. I just went to Springboard, finished that, and then I transferred to Western Governors because I just fell in love with cyber.
Yeah. Thanks for going through those details. Real quick, right after we go through Moja and Nigel for this question, we'll just do a quick reset so that everyone can kind of say what bootcamp they went to, and also like if it was in person or virtual. I missed that earlier on. But before we get back into that, let's go on to Moja. Why, what motivated you to enroll in the cybersecurity bootcamp?
Can you hear me okay?
Yeah, I can hear you okay. And welcome.
So,
sorry, I didn't get to introduce you.
No, it's okay. I decided to join a cybersecurity bootcamp because at the time, I think it's 4 years ago now, I was working at the YMCA. It was after my first year of university, didn't do so well. So I didn't have enough scholarships that renewed to go back and afford the next semester. So I enrolled in my local community college, but I wanted to do more and decide what I wanted to major in, take a step back, reassess what I would like to do for my career. And my friend joined a boot camp called Empower, which taught him how to do help desk work, and they kind of do it sectional. So help desk, then you do security, then you do. So I took the first Empower class. I loved it, and I knew since then that IT and cybersecurity was for me.
Yeah, absolutely. Love that. All right. And then last but not least, we have Nigel. Nigel, what motivated you to enroll in a cybersecurity bootcamp?
Yeah, just progression and where I was at career-wise. I knew that the way I was learning cyber through, like YouTube University and just a lot of open source, resources that are out there. I felt that when I did research on the different boot camps and how they were structuring it would really give me optimal learning ability, other than just, trying to learn Linux one day and then learn Python the next day. So it really was structured in the boot camp where on one side, we really focused blue team heavy. And when I say boot camp, I attended Full Stack Academy. So one piece of it was very blue team focused. The other piece was very red team focused. And I was learning different, obviously, domains in security, as well as different tools and methodologies of security in general. So it was, for me, very structured. There's a reason why it motivated me to actually go into the boot camp, because I was already learning on my own. But once I was able to see like different syllabuses and what different boot camps were offering, I knew that going this route would help me kind of structure all the information that I was intaking. So that's the reason why I attended a boot camp.
Gotcha. Thanks for going to those details. All right. So a little bit of reset here. Rather than having us all go, having each individual kind of go through like their own boot camps, if you folks can like just quickly update your name in the studio and just like add like dash the name of the bootcamp you went to, that would be super helpful. If it's too long, just kind of find a way to abbreviate it so that way we can just easily call that out and like have the audience know what bootcamp you went to. So I think it's going to be much easier for everyone to kind of follow through that way. And while we have folks do that, if you're watching right now, we're about 126 people watching across YouTube, all the different platforms. Please make sure to like, subscribe, follow whatever platform you're watching on, comment, share, all of that stuff. It helps with like getting engagement so that we can have more conversations like this. And with that being said, I think Nigel, and David, are you folks able to update your name with the bootcamp you went to?
For some reason, I don't see a place to update. Oh, yeah. I'll do
It
that
should be
now.
like edit name and headline.
Yeah. Yep.
I think I should be all set, right?
I don't see yours, Nigel.
There we
just
go. I
gotta-
updated it.
Let's see. It's not showing up.
It's not attached to my name anymore or under my
Oh, I see what you're
camera
saying.
anymore.
So if I take this out and I just bring it back on like this, whenever you're talking, it will show. Okay, there we go. It would show. Okay, perfect. All right, that being said, let's move on to the next question. The next question here is, this is supposed to be a simple one. So this one is going to be, how did the bootcamp curriculum compare to your expectations? So I imagine that, before going to the bootcamp, some of you had an experience, some of you didn't. So the question here is like, with regards to like your experience previously or what you knew about cybersecurity, whatever the case may be, how did the bootcamp curriculum compare to your expectations? Let's get started with you, Josh. What was that like for you? Josh D.
Yeah, so the curriculum, it 100% exceeded my expectations. I was going into it with, a very open mind. At the very least, I want to get out of this and learn something. I want to learn something that can make me more like somewhat career ready, like job ready as soon as I finish or before I finish. So like the curriculum they have everything set up for anybody who has zero IT experience, or if you are already in the industry, you'll be able to learn. If you have no experience at all, if you don't know how to work a computer, you'll get out of this boot camp and you'll be a force to be reckoned with by the time you finish with it, and you'll be like able to go into a job and be effective right away with little to no training.
Right.
Because everything that I learned in this curriculum is stuff that I actually do on a daily basis. It was nothing different, the same environment, the same, like the way we do tickets, the way we handle alerts, step by step, everything is laid out, and that's how I work in my role now. So the curriculum is built to make you job ready by the time you finish the boot camp.
Gotcha. And that's good. That's great. I love to hear that, So on to Lee. How did the bootcamp compare to your expectations?
Well, personally, for me, it was okay. Granted that I knew on my second week of attending, I knew what I wanted to get into, and I had the motivation to learn outside of the bootcamp. But I noticed a lot of people relied heavily on the program itself, which they ended up either stop attending or went into something else completely, because it was mostly a PowerPoint heavy seminar on site. We did some labs here and there, but it was really up to the person to work on those extracurriculars outside of the program. So a lot of people only did the things in class, and outside of that, they did not expand their skills. So me, I already knew that the course alone or the bootcamp alone was not going to be enough to be sufficient for a decent role. So I just took it upon myself to learn extracurriculars outside of that. But it did help build that. If you didn't have the foundation already, it did help to establish, expand your knowledge on things that you're already doing, or the reasoning why. It gives you a broader overview of the reason why you were performing your job. So whenever you do get the interviews, you're not just talking about your day-to-day, you're talking about the impact. So
Gotcha. Thanks for going to those details, Lee. On to Josh M. How did the bootcamp curriculum compare to your expectations?
Yeah, so the boot camp definitely met them. I would say exceeded them. Um, I definitely, so I came with experience. So
Mm,
like I was familiar with a lot of the materials. Well, like a 80% of it, maybe 70% or 60. Uh, but I would say like in terms of like what I was able to take away from it, yes, because like I learned new methodologies and new ways of analyzing data that I hadn't thought of before. And
mm,
I would say like, yeah, they pushed me too. Like,
yeah.
I mean, we're gonna get into it later where it's like what you do for the boot camp, like what you put into is what you get out of it. So let's say like in that aspect, yeah, they helped me get better. So yes, it exceeded my expectations.
Gotcha. All right. Next we have David. How did the bootcamp curriculum compare to your expectations, David?
Yeah, I'd say it met them, like, and as a lot of people said, it exceeded them. The course was a mixture of, I mean, it was really everything from networking and kind of basic IT stuff to security analytics, learning how
Mm,
to use a SIM, learning how to ingest data, or learning how to create dashboards. And that was all in Splunk.
right.
And running Nessus scans and GRC reporting. So it was a pretty large swath of information. There's a lot of it was like drinking from a fire hose.
Yeah,
So
imagine.
it required a lot of outside practice. So a lot of people, if you did the bare minimum, like I think someone else said this, if you did the bare minimum, you're not going to get much out of it.
Yeah.
For me, a lot of what I saw, it's what you put in versus what you put out, which for me, it allowed me to be able to get a lot more out of it than others did. So, it exceeded my expectations, but it also wasn't just something where you kind of punch a ticket. It's not like you're going to college class and you're going there to get an A. No, you have
Yeah.
to look at it from, this is information that you're taking, and you have to be able to apply it on the interview and apply it in a job.
Yeah. Yeah, it's definitely real. With regards to like expectations and also like just the reality of being able to like translate that to, what the real world will essentially look like. Thanks for going into
Yeah.
those details, David. Next up, we have Charles. How did the bootcamp curriculum compare to your expectations, Charles?
So the answer to this as for Springboard would really vary depending on who you ask. I've seen a lot of negative things in the Slack chat for the Springboard bootcamp. I've seen a lot of positive things. I've seen a lot of neutral things. So for me personally, I came in with about 2 years of IT support experience, about half a year of repair technician experience, and about, I'd say, a year or so of owning like a small tech refurbishing shop.
Mm,
So I came in with a lot of general IT experience. So I guess my number one piece of advice is the more you come in with, the more you get out.
yeah.
So I was able, they assigned me 2 coaches, 1 career, 1 boot camp, and they assigned me 1 professional mentor. So that, I feel like that more than well pays for the 8,000 that
Mm,
my parents paid and helped me. Um, yeah, as for curriculum, the curriculum they touched on so many things. I feel like the other guys in here, they were talking, their boot camps talked more, well, they touched on more of security stuff, really cyber security, engineering,
yeah.
SOC, SIM, heavy stuff. But for Springboard, I felt like it was a more general sense of cyber and IT as a whole. There was a lot of, there was some cloud computing actually. There was AI. There was tech support. There was project management, and then there was cyber.
Mm,
So, and the curriculum was about 6 to 8 months long, about uh, 15 hours a week, I'd say. So a part-time job. Um, mentors were great, honestly. Victor was my coach mentor, was my career mentor, sorry,
hmm
who he worked at EY and some other companies as a nuclear cybersecurity manager, and he was amazing. Yeah, I know my timer's up, but yeah, I can't say enough great things about Springboard.
Gotcha. All right. So, let's see. Up next, we have Moja. How did the bootcamp curriculum compare to your expectations?
I think it was pretty spot on to my expectations. I went in not knowing anything, not knowing what the curriculum would be. I just knew that at the time, Empower was geared to getting people with the IT help desk entry. Um, Try to get you IT fundamentals, Google IT certified, and CompTIA A plus at that time. And then after you complete those with them, that you can do the Security Plus, or if you already have the A plus, you go straight to the Security Plus type thing.
Yeah.
So I thought it was pretty on par with my expectations in terms of the curriculum, but I think where they went above and beyond is their like personal support. Um, in the program, you learn how to build and take apart computers in real time, and they had like a bunch of them in the office. They We learned how to set up routers and stuff like that, at least in our class. And I thought that those kind of hands-on experiences made the tests a lot easier. I think that they had pretty good mock interview prep and job placement stuff. So I thought that all of the factors that played a role outside of just the core concepts learned
Yeah.
were really the benefit.
Gotcha. Thanks for going into those details, Moja. And last but not the least, Nigel, how did the bootcamp curriculum compare to your expectations?
Yeah, the bootcamp curriculum definitely met my expectations. For my cohort, it was very hands-on, so wasn't PowerPoint heavy. Every day we were in the terminal, capture the flag, learning Python, learning even the red team side of things, right? Metasploit, writing a report. Very hands-on boot camp, exactly what I needed. I was already learning a lot of the methodologies in cyber. And also what it did, it highlighted the different domains. So when people say they want to get in cybersecurity, that's a very broad statement. There's different facets of cybersecurity, right? There's GRC, the security engineering, there's the CSOC or the SOC or stuff like that, different domains. So it explained what those different domains were and helped me make that decision exactly on what I wanted to do as I was learning that information, right? So what interests me, what arena that I really wanted to dabble in, which obviously led me to cyber threat intelligence. But being very hands-on was very important for me in the boot camp that I chose. And the fact that we were doing capture the flags, pretty much every class, learning Linux, learning, just these very important tools that are, high demand skills was very important to me.
Yeah, that's great. So far, I think like we've kind of had like generally like positive responses with regards to the curriculum, with regards to expectations and all that stuff, and that's pretty good. So we're on a positive streak so far, which is great. That being said, before I go into the next question, if you're watching this, thanks for joining the stream. Please make sure to like, subscribe, follow, and share on whatever platform you're watching this on so that we can get more people into the stream and also be incentivized to do more streams like this. That being said, if you have any questions, put them in the chat. Towards the end, we're going to have a general Q&A where we're going to be able to answer as many questions as possible. That being said, let's move on to the next question. This is going to be one where you can go into as much detail as possible. So I'm going to add like an extra 30 seconds. So we have 2 minutes, 30 seconds to answer this question. The question here is going to be describing a day in the life of the bootcamp. So imagine like some of you did it in person. Some of you already explained that, going to the office or going to the training school in person. And some of you did it online as well. So imagine like combining that with work, working out, family, all of that was probably some sort of like, a lot of work might have gone into combining this with everything else you have to do. So we're going to go into what that day in the life looked like for however the length of the bootcamp was. So getting started with Josh, what did a day in the life typically look like for you during the bootcamp? Josh D.
So I'm gonna try to get through this as quick as possible. So for the bootcamp that I went into, it is 20 weeks. If you don't have Security Plus, the first 8 weeks you get Security Plus. They train you, do whatever you need to get Security Plus, And the last 12 weeks, you're in a hands-on environment, learning all of the security tools. So you're learning Splunk as a SIEM, IBM Curator as a SIEM, CrowdStrike Falcon as an EDR, SentinelOne as an EDR, Proofpoint as an email security tool, and a variety of open source intelligence tools such as VirusTotal, Abuse IPDB, and things like that. So now I'm gonna get into a typical day. So if you're a typical day is Tuesdays and Thursdays, it is 7 to 10 p.m. and it'll be Saturday from 10 a.m. to 3 p.m. I know that sounds crazy. I know people wouldn't want to do that, but there's days, and then those days are the other mandatory days, and all of these are virtual, and everything is recorded if you can't attend.
Right.
But there's also days in between during the week. So say Monday or Wednesday, you want to get with the team and knock out some tickets. So a day-to-day in that would be like, it's like a regular SOC shift. You're coming in, checking your emails, logging into the different tools, doing health checks, and then you're running through alerts, assigning things to yourself, and investigating and coming up with your recommendations and declarations. So throughout this whole experience, the instructors are always available to you at all times, but you're learning everything along the way. And what's really great about this boot camp and what's different, I feel like, is that none of this is simulated. Okay, you're working in a real environment, real world attacks, you on real networks, and you're using these real tools that are in this environment, in this SOC. And they walk you through all of that. So that's why the experience that you gain from that it makes you job ready ASAP. So I can't attest to that enough, and I can't recommend this bootcamp enough.
Gotcha. Man, that day in the life must have been like super. Well, I guess like if you attended all like the those training days, like that must have been like required a lot of planning with regards to like combining that with other things that you had to do. I remember like when I was in college freshman year, combining like school with full-time work, and then Saturdays I had a class that was like 10 to like it was 7 to like 2 or 3, like 8 hours or so, which is kind of crazy. But that was back in the day. Anyways, thanks for going through those details, Josh. Next we have Lee. The question again here is, what was a typical day? What was a typical day in your life during the boot camp? Combining that with work or with school or whatever the case, whatever you're doing. Like, what did a typical day look like for you, Lee?
So the first I would say the first 3 weeks of the boot camp is when I landed a technical analyst role, completely outside of the boot camp's doing. It was just being attended in the boot camp sparked up my interest to get back into the tech life. So I just started back applying and then landed the role. But I still attended the boot camp. But the day-to-day within the actual course, I wish it was more like Josh D's course. But like I said, most of the things I learned was outside of the boot camp, or there's certain days that we did have labs. But the typical day was 4 hours on site, mostly PowerPoint lectures, and then they reserved the last hour for lab building based on what was taught that day. Since the courses were the IETL A+, Net Plus, Security Plus courses, so depending on what the lesson was for that day is what we worked on. So hey, if we were in Security Plus, and the lecture was about learning what denial of service attack is, or okay, you learned about it mostly through that PowerPoint lecture, but then the last hour we had little labs that we had virtual machines on that you can simulate a denial of service attack, so you can actually see what it looks like in real time. But they always encouraged us outside of that 1 hour to play around with the other labs, and those they had a lot of labs to pick from and choose from that you can go on ahead and do on your own time. But actually, within the 4-hour course, it was mostly lecture and then an hour for hands-on things based on whatever the lesson was for the day.
Got you. Thanks for going into those details, Lee. Up next, we have Josh M. What was a typical day in the life for you during the boot camp? And for the rest of the folks, I'm looking for more so like, of course, feel free to go into details about what you did and all of that. But I'm also looking for to like, kind of like explain like how it was combining like the studying and learning for that with the rest of your life. Because I imagine it was like, those boot camps were like 3 to 6 months and, pretty rapid and all of that. So like, how did you combine that with like all the other things you had to do with there was like, going to school or like whether it was like having a full-time job and, whether it was like studying on your own as well or like going to the gym, all of your other responsibilities beyond the boot camp. How did you combine that with doing the boot camp and also like, what the curriculum entailed? I'll hand it over to you, Josh. What was that like for you?
Yeah, so I went to work, and then the boot camp was Monday through Thursday on Zoom, 2 hours, 7 to 9 or whatever. And so again, it's like, well, similar to the first guy where it's like, well, I guess first hour lecture, and then like they always try to incorporate lab time like during every Zoom class, and it's like they use like Zoom breakout rooms or whatever. And then a lot of it hinges on your work outside of the class. So like they strongly encourage us to like do a lot of prep work beforehand. So they have like free labs that they encourage you to do if you don't know cyber before the class starts. And then like during the class time, it's like we have homework from Friday to that's due on Sunday. Due is like loosely termed due, as in like, okay, we have to do it in preparation for the week, and we'll be better off if we have done the work. This is level effect. And so it's like it's like just a lot of outside work. Like during the weekends, it's a lot of labs, a lot of videos, labs. And then during the week, it's like brief lectures, 2 hours, like, and then we try to work through a group lab. That's it. But it's like however long the 10 weeks was, or 3 weeks, 12 weeks rather. So yeah, it's just pretty fast paced. You just have to do a lot of homework outside of class. And yeah, that's it.
Got you. Thanks for going into those details, Josh. Up next, we have David. What was a typical day like for you while you were doing the boot camp?
Yeah, honestly, depending on what portion of the boot camp that I was in. So, for example, if we were doing security analytics or more of the hands-on lab work where we're injecting vulnerabilities into specific virtual machines, it might have been more hands-on. We always had the lecture time, couple days a week because this was a couple of years ago. But honestly, just handling because I had just moved to a new state to where my now wife lived. And I had been previously it was height of COVID. I'd just been laid off. And so I decided to dedicate, rather than going and getting a part-time job. I had a good amount of money saved up. So I was like, you know what, I'll dive into this boot camp and I'm just going to treat it like a full-time job. So I was pretty much doing 40 to 50 hours a week of not just class time, which was probably a couple hours a day where we had like a lecture for 2 hours. And then I was spending, doing homework where, I've been out of school for a couple of years. So writing, 2 to 4 page papers on GDPR stuff for GRC is definitely not super fun, but I learned a ton. And so I think, by dedicating the, 40 to 50 hours a week of just studying, I absorbed a lot more information than I would have if I was just doing it like a normal class. And, normal, like other day-to-days would have been, if we're doing group projects where for example, we built a website, HTML, basic HTML and, connecting with PHP. And we would work on Zoom together with other different classmates. Obviously, mine was completely virtual, which was super great. It was 16 weeks though. So again, drinking from a fire hose, and
Yeah.
I had to really pick and choose what I wanted to really absorb. And I decided to really dive head in first into, the security analytics portion of it,
Yeah.
really mainly the sim work, which is, again, it's what I do now. I build a sim for a living. But also the network portion, because for me, learning fundamentals was the most important part. And I think for everybody else, it's the most important part of getting into any sort of tech sphere.
Yeah, absolutely. I never ever want to skip on the fundamentals because they're super important. Like those are like, they always come back, one way or another. So having those strong fundamentals are like super important, making sure you're building on those. Thanks for going to those details, David. Up next we have Charles. What was a day in the life like for you during the boot camp?
So I can give you, I guess, two snapshots. I guess one early boot camp and one later boot camp. In the early boot camp, I mean, in both, I was working 60, 75 hours a week from like day to night. Full-time student by day. I was working a part-time job on campus as a IT support engineer at the Advanced Computing and Research Center. And then I was working Springboard maybe 2 hours every weekday, 3 hours every weekend. And about 2 months into my boot camp, signed my offer. So I definitely toned it down after that because I got lazy. I'm gonna be honest, So the second part of my boot camp in around, let's say February, March, I was working as a personal trainer. And this is when I withdrew from Rutgers and transferred to Western Governors. So I had a portion of about 3 months where I wasn't enrolled as a student. So I started a business as a tech refurbisher, pulling in about 20K, I guess, 15 a month. So that wasn't bad revenue. So that was my day job. And then at night, boot camp. And again, I was a personal trainer about a couple hours a week. And then again, boot camp at night, boot camp weekends. So I was already working at the gym. So that's the answer to that the workout question. I was just working out in between, just whether it be before my clock in and then after my clock in. Yeah,
I imagine. Slight question. If you were making that much money from your refurbishing, why didn't you just like stick to that?
Oh, that's revenue. It's not profit.
Oh, okay. Gotcha.
Yeah, profits are slimmer. I can't say what that is, obviously.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Profits are very slim for tech businesses. Well, hardware tech businesses that resell products.
That makes sense. Thanks for going to those details, Charles. Up next, we have Moja. By the way, Moja, am I pronouncing your name correctly?
Yes, sir.
Okay, just wanted to be sure. Yeah. So, what was a day in the life What did a day in the life look like for you while you were doing the boot camp?
Honestly, when you were talking about your experience in college and doing the and having other obligations or responsibilities, that sounds very spot on to mine as well. So I had enrolled in community college after, and I was working at the YMCA. So it would look like going in the mornings to either a class or my shift, and then Empower was usually 4 hours a day, so it's like 1 to 5 at the time, and that was a big obligation. So I would tailor my classes around that. It might look like YMCA, Empower, then classes, or classes, then Empower, YMCA, but it would always be a mix of either 2 or all 3 during a day. But a nice thing about Empower is on Fridays, it's more so professional development, so it's not as curriculum heavy, and so that would usually be a day in the life.
Gotcha. Thanks for going to those details. And slight question for you. Why did you combine both college and the boot camp? Why was it that you didn't focus just on one or over the other?
So I noticed that nothing's necessarily guaranteed or quick. So after you graduate, you might not get a job like right away. It might be 3 months or something. And I
Yeah.
knew after not doing the best the first year, it was really a decision on me. Do I want a college degree? Do I feel like I need one? And I could afford my community college with the amount I was
Yeah.
making from YMCA and stuff like that. So I was like, why not?
Yeah, yeah, that I can see the reasoning in that. But yeah, thanks for going to those details. It's definitely insightful. And then finally, we've got Nigel. Nigel, what was a day in the life for you while you were at the bootcamp?
Yeah, a day in the life for me was obviously working the 9 to 5. I had just started in help desk, right? So that was my transition to tech. No prior tech background. I started a help desk role at the beginning of the year, January. Started the boot camp at the same time. My boot camp was 6 months long, virtual. We met 3 times out the week, and for about 2-3 hours, I believe it was. It was review, live demo from the instructor, hands-on for each individual, and then we had group projects. So the curriculum was kind of centered around the CompTIA CYSA, not the Security Plus. So it was more hands-on, scenario based.
Yeah.
So it was really good to learn that. And then right after the boot camp, I would go on and kind of, look at your content and see what certifications out there, and just did my own hands-on learning as well after the boot camp. So my days were long, very, very long, but looking back, definitely worth it. I was only in help desk for 8 months and transitioned to a junior role in cybersecurity. So the work I was put in during that time was definitely worth it. And that was kind of what my days looked like. Very long, a lot of hours. Definitely put my 10,000 in.
Yeah, I imagine. So you mentioned the CYSA curriculum. Did you eventually get the CYSA certification?
No, I did go with the Security Plus. So, and funny that you brought that up, because I did see it was around the time that you posted your content on the CYSA.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, and not just obviously off your opinion, but the Security Plus at the time, and still is more sought after from the ATS, the recruiting perspective. So I was leaning towards that way. CYSA is not, really known. I mean, it's known, it's not held to the same standard as a Security Plus. So I went that route.
Yeah, I completely agree with that sentiment, and I see a lot of sense in that. I think like you're definitely right. I typically would even recommend like folks like an individual get the Security Plus if we're to go to CYSA Plus route, because it's definitely a lot more challenging. So yeah, thanks for going to those details, Nigel. Real quick, we just went through a couple set of questions. Before we go into the next question, we're going to go over. Thank you so much for everyone who's watching here. We've got 219 people across multiple platforms watching right now. So wherever you're watching from, please be sure to like, subscribe, follow, whatever platform it is. And if you can also comment as well, it would be great. We're going to have some time for questions at the very end. So leave your questions in the chat. And then make sure to share if you have anyone that you would like to share this with. That being said, let's go on to the next couple of questions. We're going to skip a couple of questions that we originally discussed, because some of you already gone into details about those things. But next, I want to ask you about the biggest challenge you faced during the bootcamp. So I think everyone's journey has its own challenges. I've had several challenges in my own journey, and those have kind of helped me, learn very specific skills, or learn specific things, or get better at specific things, and just help me grow into the professional I am today. So imagine that each one of you had specific challenges, amongst all the challenges you might have had, that were, significant with your development and your journey. So if you can go into the details about those challenges, that'd be great. So let's get started with first person on here is Josh D. So what were the biggest challenges you faced during the bootcamp, Josh?
Well, I mean, obviously for like some of the other guys, I was actually attending college while I was doing the boot camp. And it's funny because on that Saturday session that we would have for my boot camp from 10 to 3, like I have a college class that I have to be at on campus for the exact same time slot. Wow. So I would be in class on my laptop, just attending my boot camp And I'm just like, yo, this is crazy. Like, I'm gonna get in trouble, but no, I didn't end up getting in trouble. But just putting in the time, because like someone did say, it is recommended that you put in some time outside of class in the SOC, because that's what this boot camp was kind of based around. So you, after this boot camp, you can get a job as a threat intel analyst, cybersecurity engineer, cybersecurity analyst. Like, all of those type of job offers are going to start coming your way based off the experience that you gained from this boot camp. And so naturally, you're going to have to put in some work to learn how to use Splunk, to learn how to use SentinelOne. They're going to show you how to do it, but if you're just going based off of what they say, it's not gonna help you any. Like, you have to actually get in there, get your hands dirty, learn, ask questions. So I wouldn't really say it was challenging, but time management is definitely important, and you really need to put in that work in order to reap the benefits. Because if you don't put in the work, you're not gonna reap the benefits, because like it's hands on. That stuff that you learn from Security Plus, okay, that's great. It's very valuable, but if you have the hands-on experience, you can do the job instead of just talking about how to do it. Like, you can do it.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's one of the biggest things in general, like just with cybersecurity, building skills, whatever the case is. Once you start moving from that sort of like conceptual, multiple choice, like based model of learning, the challenge ramps up like significantly. Like for me, it was like going from like, Security Plus learning to like BTL1 was like a ramp up for me, right? Because you're going from just being generally used to like just like theoretical, conceptual, objective based learning to like practical skill, hands-on keyboard based learning. And that gap is actually really wide, wide, right? Like the gap between I know what investigation is generally, and what malware is, and how it compromises a network, or how this intrusion model works, is completely different from going into Splunk or whatever tool you're using and actually like getting that hands-on experience or looking for those specific details. So there's a very wide gap between theoretical, conceptual, and hands-on. So I imagine like that's definitely like a challenge across the board. But again, thanks for going to those details, Josh. Up next to you, Lee. What was the biggest challenge that you faced during the boot camp?
I would think, like most people, it would be the balancing your regular life with the hours of the boot camp, of course. But also, I would think what I noticed, the biggest challenge is taking the boot camp knowledge and making it valuable, right? As we already know, that boot camp, the word is already something that a lot of people laugh at, and I started to notice that in interviews where I say, hey, I did this type of work, I know how to do this type of work, and they say, okay, where did you do this? And I mentioned I did this in this course or whatever. And then I noticed that, it's not being taken seriously, even though the knowledge doesn't change based on where you learned it at. But where you learned it at to other people who's hiring matters to them versus what you actually know. 2 + 2 is 4. Whoever taught you that, it doesn't matter how do you get the answer. It just matters that you got the answer.
Right.
But that's my thought process behind it. So I had to learn how to take the skills from the boot camp and my own self-learning, apply it to my day-to-day, and do something extra at work to say, hey, well, I did this now at my current company rather than I did this at some course X, Y, and Z. So that was the biggest challenge for me, I believe.
Yeah. Thanks for going to those details, Josh. Lee. I think across the board, like that's a challenge for everybody that doesn't have experience, right? Whether you did a boot camp, whether you did a certification, whether you have your own home lab, there's always going to be like that chasm between like actual real world experience and like something you learned in a boot camp, or you did in your own lab, or you learned in a course, because people don't necessarily immediately weigh that as heavy as they weigh real world experience. Like if you said, "Oh, I did this in an internship or I did this in a job," I actually did it. Like I actually was working in a job where I did this. People, associate that differently. But once you mention like, "Oh, you built the lab on your own when you did that," when you learn it from a course or a boot camp or a training, like the weight that is associated to that is most times, if not all the time, not always the same weight associated with like experience, because there's this same old issue of like, in order for you to get experience, you have to actually get a job to get the experience, and you interview to get the job that will get you experience, and if they don't hire you, you're not going to get the experience. It's just this continuous cycle. So I think that's always going to be a challenge for anyone, whether boot camp or course or college or or home lab. The fact that you don't have like that real world job experience, people are always going to look at that some kind of way. And it's going to be up to you to be able to like confidently portray what you did. And like, I have not done this in the real world specifically, but the experience I have, I know I'm going to be able to apply that to a real world scenario because this is how close it is. So I think that's a challenge across the board, and that's a good way to approach that. Moving on to you, Josh M. What was the biggest challenge you faced during the boot camp?
Yeah, I would say so the level effect has a certification exam at the end, and it's 100% hands-on. And I would say that was the most difficult challenge. So like getting through the class was fine. Like it's not like they don't like check on you. Like you do submit things. They have a module where you do a virtual SOC, but for the lion's share of the class, it's like basically teach yourself the content, and then we'll have lecture during the week, and then you will have your homework on the weekends. But like at the end, there's an exam that's like 100% hands-on, and that is very, very hard to pass. I actually had to take it 3 times, and I would say like translating from the class like every week doing the modules to like actually getting a problem, like being given malware saying like analyze this, being given logs saying like find where the evil is, and then writing a report, like because they make you actually do real SOC analyst problems. So like doing all of it in a real setting is much harder than the class. Because like to be honest, I did kind of slack off in the middle portion of the class, like on the assignments and things. So like towards the end, I had to like review, study harder. So like yeah, the process of the hands-on nature of the like class was very challenging for me because like I had to like review the content, ask questions, review the content, ask questions.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Gotcha. Thanks for going into those details, Josh. I think again, back to the hands-on stuff, and it's great, right? Because you want that challenge, because when you're going to the real world, you want to be sure they're capable of doing the job, like finding that evil when you're actually placed in a scenario where you have to do that, right? So like having something challenging to test your skills, test your knowledge, test your competency before being thrown into the sea with the sharks is better for you to build those skills, know where you're at, and then be confident enough that whenever, right, you're swimming in that ocean, whatever comes, whether it's a shark or a whale, you're able to kind of handle the situation a lot better than if you didn't have that hands-on knowledge, even if that meant failing previously before getting into that. So I always love hands-on stuff, whether it's the Blue Team Level 1, the Certified Cyber Defender, or the CDSA, like those certifications, and also the one from Level Effect, like those ones always help you kind of like conceptualize, or even calibrate your skill level with regards to actually being able to do the job. So yeah, thanks for going to those details, Josh. Up next, we've got Nigel. Nigel, what was the biggest challenge you faced during this? Oh, actually, I'm so sorry, Nigel. It was supposed to be Charles next. Charles, what was the biggest challenge you faced during this bootcamp?
Yes, just staying motivated. It wasn't really a time issue for me, as I've been working 60 hours since I was 15 years old, since full-time student in high school, and then I was working at my mom's store right after from like 3 to 10 every day. So yeah, I seem to be never burning out. I guess I don't know if that's jinx, knock on wood, obviously. But for me, it was just staying motivated. Do I really want to go into cyber? Should I stay with software engineering? I just passed data structures with an A. I've never had issues with coding. It's just I just didn't enjoy it. Well, I enjoy cyber. Is is everybody lying about cyber on YouTube and Instagram and on LinkedIn? Is everybody just preaching it for no reason? You know, just all this stuff. So mostly motivation. Feeling as if maybe I'm not the best. Maybe I won't be the best. All these like questions, these thoughts that you have inside it definitely is definitely prevalent as a bootcamp grad and a current student just in this type of market, you know.
Yeah. Would you consider yourself a hustler, Charles?
Oh, I don't like the definition of hustler, but
burying like the hustle culture connotation, like in the real sense of the word, would you consider yourself a hustler?
I definitely work. I definitely try my best with everything.
That's good.
I mean, humans, we are all inherently lazy, you know. It's just I try my best to get myself up every day and do something productive from morning to night.
Yeah, that's great. I'm 22 now, and I definitely had the exact same energy that you had, like being 20. Like I thought I would never burn out, and honestly, I feel like that's the best time to literally, I think I have one of my, like, not a mantra, but like one of my driving forces, like when I was much younger, was like, right now I can do little stuff and get away with it. Like I could pull all nighters, and like I wouldn't even feel it because I have so much energy. So I use that all of that up when I had that energy, and that worked out for me. And I don't have to do that as much anymore. I'm glad I did that. So I'd say, like, man, just like whatever you're doing right now, do it until it doesn't work anymore, because it's gonna help you a lot. Like it's like whenever you get to a point where like you don't have that same amount of like your body doesn't have the same amount of like energy or ability to like withhold like that stress, like you'll be glad you did it previously, which you're already doing. So I just wanted to throw that anecdote. I'm not even that old yet, but I feel it whenever I don't sleep on time.
Yeah, a lot of people tell me that. Yeah, I've done so many like 18-hour days of just wake up, school like 9 to 1 p.m. and then boot camp, and then run to my IT support job, and then run to my like personal training job, and then try to run my business, and then just running around writing a report for my boot camp at night, and then applying to jobs like 10 applications a day to like these big companies who probably won't even look at my application. So
but thanks for going to those details, Charles. Let's move on next to Moja. Moja, during your boot camp, what was the biggest challenge that you faced?
Not to echo a lot of what other people said, but it was definitely time management between the three things I was doing. And it was also trying to catch back up wherever I fell in any area. I felt like when I was split between three different things, I couldn't give my 100 to all three. Some days I was better at school than I was at the boot camp, or another day I did really well at work, but dropped the ball somewhere else. So a lot of what Empower did was give us practice tests, and they got to assess, maybe, spend a little bit more time studying. I noticed, you fell a couple points so that you're ready for the exam when it comes. And I think they really supported me through that.
Yeah, that's great. Yeah, I think just like combining all of those things, knowing that you're not going to be 100% on everything, like that definitely like helps put into your mind that, okay, this is a season where I'm gonna have to like put a little bit more into this so that I can have more results out of that, because that's my main focus. But I don't want to completely neglect these other things that are also important. So like just being able to like have that. I like to use the word harmony a lot more than balance these days, because like it's kind of like, if it's balance, it seems like there's a bit of equality there, but if it's harmony, it's like these things are concurrent, but there's like a precedence of one over the other every now and then, depending on the season or situation I'm in. So, and that is super helpful, as you, go into your actual career, your job, because like over time, as you grow into like a leader or a senior engineer or analyst or manager, director, there's more responsibility, but at the same time, you also have the rest of your life. You have your family, children, whatever it is that you have to combine all of that with. So being able to kind of like learn that balance and act or act of like harmonizing everything is going to be important as you move on. So thanks for going to those details, Moja. And then up next to Nigel. Nigel, what was the biggest challenge you faced during your bootcamp?
Yeah, I would say discipline is going to be the biggest challenge. I honestly think it's before the boot camp, right? So kind of locking in and understanding what you're trying to accomplish, right? I'm sure all of us had doubt on, do we even want to do a boot camp, right? A lot of the things that we're about to learn is open source. If we really wanted to, we could learn it. So having discipline and understanding the goal at hand, right? So I'm going to go into this and spend this money and know that I want to get this output, right?
Yeah.
You have that discipline, and overcoming the imposter syndrome, you're going to get what you reap and for, the things that you put in, right? So once I established that discipline mindset, so I think cyber and pretty much a lot of things that we do in life is mindset starting first. So if you have the mindset that I'm going to get the best out of this opportunity, which is the boot camp, you get that. So once you're disciplined, you're going to class every day, you're on time, you're paying attention, you're doing the work, you're doing all those things. Everything else is going to line up outside of that, right? Whether the technical side of things, learning all these different, Linux and Python, all those things that you can learn that you can there's many different learning styles that you can obtain that knowledge, but having the discipline to know that I want to get this, I want to get a job in cybersecurity, that's a mindset that you have to have every day. It's not, every other day or once a month. It's an everyday thing. So once you can establish that and, get over that, that challenge, I believe that, you can obtain what you're trying to get out of cybersecurity.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I love that perspective, Nigel. Like that discipline is huge because like, discipline is not just like you said, it's not just cybersecurity. It's like the entirety of your life. If you don't have the discipline for things that are important, like a lot of things would just fall by the wayside. You would never achieve your goals. You wouldn't be able to achieve them to the fullest of your abilities. You're gonna kind of have things that are like pushing longer than they should. You're gonna procrastinate. You're gonna be distracted. Like discipline helps you stay consistent as well. And if you don't have that discipline, it's gonna be hard to do things because generally, like first and foremost, like learning anything in cybersecurity is hard. Like the field in and of itself is a hard field to learn anything in. So if you're not disciplined, it's going to be hard for you to learn these things, like to stay the course when getting that knowledge gets hard, right? And then discipline also requires you being consistent. Like when you're learning, like it's hard to like continuously go back to something you're not used to, you've not known before, you've never applied before. So like that the newness or the novelty of what you're learning, it's hard to stay consistent with that because like you're like the learning process is difficult. So discipline will help you stay consistent with that. And then as you move on, whether it's going up and more into more advanced stuff, discipline helps you to be able to like pursue those things and make sure that you're keeping up with your skills and all of that stuff. So I think discipline is super important. And also it spills to other things in life, right? Whether it's like discipline with your diet, discipline with like making sure like your mental health is right, making sure that you're working out, making sure that you're spending time with your family. Like those things, as trivial as they might sound, they require discipline because you could be doing other things that are a lot more easier to do, but discipline is going to keep you in check every single time. But yeah, that's been a great conversation so far. Thanks to everyone who's gone into details. Right now, we're approaching 250 people watching us live. If you're watching right now, thank you so much for joining the stream. Wherever you're watching from, be sure to subscribe, follow, whatever it is you can do on there, connect, whatever the case is, and also be sure to like as well. It helps show that this is actually valuable and bring more people in, and also helps incentivize us to do more content like this. So thank you so much if you're doing that. That being said, let's move on to the next question. We've got a couple more to go. We're not going to go through all of them because some of you have kind of covered like the different aspects. So I think this one's going to be super important.
You
This one is
skipped
like
David.
I
You
skipped
skipped
David.
David. Yes.
Oh, did I
No
skip
worries.
you,
We
David?
can. It's all good. I mean, if you want to go on to the next question.
I am so sorry, David. I am so sorry. David, what was the biggest challenge you experienced in the boot camp? Let's do it.
Yeah, not to hammer home the same points a lot of people said, but I loved what you said, Dave, about harmony, because I think that's a lot of what I was trying to kind of establish as I was going into the boot camp, because I'm stepping into an entirely different career. I
Yeah.
came from Intel and sales. Intel is what I studied in college, and I came from really predominantly sales and recruiting. And so stepping into an entirely different, new niche and new career, it was finding where, number one, where do I fit into it? How do my strengths from my background fit into it? How does what I'm applying and what I'm learning apply to my career down the road? That I was trying to view it through that lens, because obviously you don't want to be a jack of all trades and a master of none, because then you
Yeah.
jump on any interview and you're like, well, I know a little bit about everything. Jobs want to know where your strengths are at. So that was really where I was trying to find my avenue. And
Yeah.
I was hoping to do security analytics afterwards. And I jumped into the interview that I was at, and a lot of my strengths from working on a sim, in my boot camp, is really what led me to be successful into where my career is now, where I'm doing security product development, which I didn't know was a thing.
Yeah.
I knew I knew software engineering. I'm doing more of the security coding side of things, right? I'm building the integrations and all that sort of stuff. But a lot of that, they liked what I did. And also, plug for everybody else, my manager went over to my LinkedIn, saw that I was posting my projects, loved to see that I was using Splunk, and he asked me about that, and I was able to use that on an interview later down the road. So just finding harmony, finding my lane, and really focusing on what would be applicable to what I wanted to do.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I think that's like super important. And that last thing you dropped there, with like posting your projects on LinkedIn and people finding you on there, that's such a cheat code. I know a lot of people a lot more people are doing it now, but like just taking the effort to do that and doing it well could open up so many opportunities for you, whether it's like people reaching out to you or even in an interview. Like that could literally be your entire interview. I literally had that, like, where like the entirety of my interview like was just literally me talking about my project and just answering questions about it from the interviewer. So it's such a cheat code, and it just helps you build skill, put yourself out there, and just like it's great for you and the community, your manager, whoever, your company. So absolutely love that. Real quick, I wanted to again point back to Nigel's thing on discipline, right? And with regards to the fact, you mentioned something about the fact that you could be like, oh, like I could get all this knowledge open source or on YouTube or cheaper. So like I think that's also another thing that people also like try to like use to discount boot camps. It's like, oh, you could get this so for free. You could get it for this and the third. You could, do this course or that course. But I think sometimes like making like huge commitments makes you even more disciplined, right? Because ultimately it's discipline. I feel like we all have different levels of discipline, right? My discipline might not be enough for me to like sit down through a free course, get through it, and apply it in a way that's going to give me a job. I might need to spend a couple thousands of dollars before I'm able to be like, you know what, I need to like sit down in front of this thing, or else all my 10K, 15K is going to go to waste, right? So I think sometimes we need something to propel us to be disciplined, and as long as we're able to kind of manage that and do those things that essentially help us get to our goals, I think it's totally fine to like do certain things just to propel you, like with regards to discipline, right? If your discipline is not at the level of like you leveraging free resources or like specific courses to get to where you want to go, that's fine. If it requires you making a bigger commitment financially, time wise, then that's what it is. And if you have that and you use that to your advantage, then absolutely. So I just wanted to again bring up that point with regards to Nigel's point on discipline. It's super important. We've got 3 more questions we're going to go through. We're going to try to get through these as fast as we can. And then we'll open up like a roundtable for everyone to discuss with like questions within the chat. So if you have any questions, drop them in there. We're going to have time for a couple. So, make sure you have good questions so that we can get to your question. That being said, let's go on to the next question, the third to the last question. So this question is going to be about job search and career placement. Actually, sorry, in the private chat I posted the wrong first question. The question I wanted to post was with regards to job search and career placement for the third to the last one. So we'll go over that one first. So with regards to job search and career placement, how do bootcamps support you in regards to that? So I think one of the reasons why people do bootcamps is typically for like job search, career placement, and those like connections that they can get from the bootcamp. So I want to learn from all of you's experience how that was. Starting with you, Joshua, how did the bootcamp help support your job search and career placement, Josh?
So they helped in the best way that I could possibly describe. So once it came down to the end of like the last 3 weeks of the boot camp, they assign you a kind of like a job search ambassador. So, and they also provide you with this website called Hunter, and you put the jobs that you apply to into that website, or that you plan to apply to into that website, and your ambassador, if they have connections throughout the industry at any company that you can think of, all of the big time government contracting companies, all of the big time tech companies, cybersecurity companies. Like, we have people that have graduated from the boot camp that now work at Google or Arctic Wolf or CrowdStrike or all of these companies, and also every other government contracting company that you can think of. They do interview prep, practice questions. They have hundreds of practice questions from different job titles, from different companies. They do mock interviews whenever you want to, however many mock interviews you want. And they pretty much stay with you and stay in contact with you until you land a job.
Yeah.
Like, until you land a job. So I found that very refreshing, and it was like, it was great. It was a resource that I didn't necessarily use it that much, but whenever I would ask, like, hey, do you have a contact in, for example, Booz Allen?
Yeah.
I saw this job that I would be great for Booz Allen. I'm gonna apply. Do you have a contact in that company? Oh yeah, I have a contact. I'm directly in contact with their hiring manager. So yeah, I've heard about that job. I can speak on your behalf. And like, these companies, they are partnered with CyberNow Labs in order to hire the top talent, because they know that CyberNow Labs is training like the next generation of cybersecurity professionals. So they're trusted, and they're like, okay, I know they went to CyberNow Labs. They know what they're doing. I want them. And
gotcha.
And they speak on your behalf, and they're connected with you throughout the process.
Gotcha.
Until you get a job, however long it takes.
Gotcha. Sounds like a very involved process, which I imagine like anyone who goes to a boot camp would typically want. So that's very positive feedback. Thanks for going to those details, Joshua. Up next, we have Lee. How did the bootcamp support your job and your job search and career placement, Lee?
Well, me personally, I supported my own job search. So, like I said, within the first 3 weeks, I had my own. I applied for roles. Once I found out I got accepted to go in, I just started applying. Third weekend, I landed a role. But the program has it has time periods to where they help out the class as a whole to get prepared to start applying for jobs with LinkedIn building. So in the middle of the class one day, they will come in for about an hour or so, have everybody to create their LinkedIn if they haven't had one already. And they'll do this a few times throughout the time span of the course. Create your LinkedIn, add these certain keywords to your profile based on the labs and the things that we're doing within the course. So having you build your LinkedIn profile up to a standard to where it can be actually searchable by recruiters. And then they also had one-on-one time with resume building. So if you can send your resume in to certain resume builders, the people will review it and again give you potential improvement things that you can add to it. And then they also had some time where you can sit down with instructors one-on-one to get like mock interview practice for a role. If you did apply, you say, hey, I got an interview coming up. You can just get some time scheduled on the teacher's calendar and say, hey, I want to go through some potential questions they may ask during this interview. So that's the way they get some job prep and searching done. And then they also partner with some big named placement companies such as Tech Systems, et cetera, to where, hey, these entry level roles, and we have some people that can be of your pipeline here. So
Gotcha. Seemed like it was kind of like half of you kind of like directing your own job search and career placement, and then a little bit of some of their help as well.
yeah, so yeah, they definitely had their place for others, but me, I try to stay ahead of the program by knowing what I want to get out of it and moving ahead a little bit. Because a lot of people's mindset was, hey, I can't apply until I get done with the program or until I get the certification. I'm like, why are we waiting? Right? Just apply, might as well.
Yeah, gotcha. Thanks for going through those details, Lee. Up next, we've got Josh M. How did Bootcamp support your job search and career placement?
Yeah, so I did, or like when I started, I had just started a position that I
Yeah.
am right now. So I didn't really leverage a lot of the job placement things that they had. But basically it was like every week, like during our Zoom classes, like they chose one of the days. So when I took it, it was Tuesday. They would lecture on like how to get a job and how to interview and what recruiting managers, hiring managers are looking for in interviews. So it was a lot of like good street smarts in like getting a job in cybersecurity. And I did actually gain, like I did ask a lot of questions on like why I failed some previous interviews that I had like previously. So like in that aspect I did gain. And then but in terms of like job ready, so like job ready, like all the skills are applicable. But like in terms of like job placement, yeah, they help you get a resume. They have like a portal for you to get a resume. They have all like whole suite of things, resources to like help people have a good profile, have a good personal brand, learn how to interview, doing mock interviews, all of it. That's another thing too, where it's like the aspect of what I would say could improve or change is like maybe put all the like lectures on um, job placement into one week, or like even have it as a free class on their website,
Yeah.
so that if you did have a job already, like you could like either skip or not.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
yeah.
That makes sense. Thanks for going into those details, Josh. All right. Up next, we have David. David, how did a bootcamp support your job search and career placement?
Yeah, similar to Lee, I kind of ended up taking my job search kind of by the horns and running with it. Coming from a background of recruiting, I knew to an extent what a lot of hiring managers were looking for, from a resume perspective, and even from a skills perspective. So applying what I had for my boot camp into my job search, I knew that I wasn't going to wait on anyone else to set up interviews, or to set up mock interviews, or to do resume writing. I actually, about halfway through my boot camp, was already working on polishing my resume, was already working on putting some feelers out. And like I said previously, throughout my boot camp, I knew how powerful LinkedIn was because I used it as a recruiter. So I just started posting my projects. When I got done with them, I post a little summary or video or picture. And took it from there. And like I said, that was a big reason as to why I got a job. So other people may have had more experience, like my cohort, from working directly with their, job coach, resume coach. But I wanted to make sure that I was the one in control, and I was betting on myself. And I wasn't going to wait until the last minute, because it was all happened in the last week. So I didn't want to wait until the last week, because it's 16 weeks to have to do that, because I wanted to get ahead of the game. So so I didn't really use it very much. They had a lot that they offered. I've actually helped people from my boot camp with resume writing outside, via my LinkedIn. Because my whole thing is don't wait on someone else to get your career started.
Yeah. That's so cool. Being like a previous recruiter must be like a really like handy cheat code.
Yeah, no, it really is. And it actually really helps me relate with recruiters while I'm on the call, because a lot of recruiters deal with, like, as candidates, we deal with a lot of, terrible recruiters, and a lot of recruiters deal with even more terrible candidates. So it allows me to level with people, but also to get an inside look as to kind of what a good resume might look like. For those out there, your resume gets about 15 seconds in front of the hiring manager, so write something that's eye-catching. But
definitely. Thanks for going into those details, David. Up next, we've got Charles. So how did the bootcamp support your job search and career placement?
Yeah, so I'll try to make this as quick as possible, because I want to go to Q&A so bad. But I landed an offer 2 months into my boot camp, so I can't really speak on did this equate to that, but I can speak on the tools and the resources and the people that they gave me that helped me along the way, where I could see how it would be conducive to someone who came in with nothing to land a job after. 100%. I had a bi-weekly call with my cybersecurity mentor and my career mentor. And throughout the course, they would tell you, okay, you just finished your cloud section, add it to your resume. You just finished your cybersecurity section. Well, not cyber, your SIM section, your PM section, your general IT section. Oh, you just got your security plus, throw it on your resume. Here's how you format your resume. All this stuff, everything that YouTube has been telling me for the amount of the hundreds of hours and hours that I've watched before enrolling in the bootcamp, they just reiterated it. So I could see, like, like someone who attends this bootcamp can land a job. So that's my answer.
Gotcha. Thanks for going into those details, Charles. Up next, we've got Moja. Moja, how did the bootcamp support your job and career placement?
Good question. I want to kind of piggyback off a couple of the other good answers. But Empower definitely gave resume building. They gave mock interviews. And the really cool thing about their mock interviews was that the people you mock interviewed with, if they liked the mock interview, they'd hire you for the internship. So that's actually how I got my internship and now position. They have a recruit and job placement team. They had partner organizations, so they kind of knew with every cohort they wanted to accept a couple interns or not, and so you would kind of know that. You wouldn't, the students wouldn't know that, but the staff would know that throughout the course. There's an alumni LinkedIn page for roles and networking events, which is super helpful. I know before my mock interview, I didn't have all the clothes I would have needed for the interview. So they had like a whole clothing rental discount programs with Macy's and stuff like that. That was really helpful. They gave you instructional courses on, I think I mentioned resume building, but LinkedIn as well. And then they gave us professional headshots. So we had photos to put up for our LinkedIn, and they took photos of like a couple really cool things we did in class, like the PC building and breaking it apart in a couple of the other sessions, and we could put that on our LinkedIn as like starter profile stuff, which was really cool. So I think they kicked us off really well.
Wow. Yeah, that's really involved, and that's really good. I love like all of those different things, especially like headshot, clothing, all of that stuff. That's like stuff that you would not normally think about, but it's also super
Right.
important.
Yeah.
All right, thanks for going to those details, Moja. Let's move on to Nigel. Nigel, how did the bootcamp support your job search and career placement?
Yeah, it was basically what everyone spoke about, the typical resume building, mock interviews, LinkedIn profile enhancement, all of the normal stuff. I'm sure all the boot camps have like a similar like spreadsheet and boxes that they check off. So all of that is included. But I would say to build upon that, right? So the discipline part, what I did was, post all of the wins that I got, right? Even if it was like completing a try-hack me path, like the cyber defense path, or a specific room, right? Or learning a new skill like boss of the SOC or something like that.
Yeah.
I was being very consistent on posting on LinkedIn my journey, right? So, I mean, essentially the role that I have now, I didn't even like, it was brought to me. I didn't really, go out and apply for it. Like, I mean, I applied obviously, but it was brought to my attention. So
yeah,
being very intentional in documenting your journey, like treat your LinkedIn like your Instagram, right? You're going to post all your stuff that you do on Instagram, post your wins and what you're doing on LinkedIn professionally, right? So, and that's what I did. And what I did was grow my network as well. So whatever, specific domain of security I wanted to do, I just typed it in, I don't know, like SIM engineer in the search bar, go to people, follow all those SIM engineers, build your network, reach out to them, send them a message. Those are the kind of things you can do to enhance your network and also get feedback from other cybersecurity professionals in the field who can maybe take a look at your resume or take a look at your LinkedIn page and stuff like that. But from the bootcamp perspective, just a lot of the same things.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that just like treating your LinkedIn as your Instagram is like definitely like one of the best advice I give people all the time. Like if you're like if once you're focused on your career journey, literally like that's where you're showing everything you're doing on there, everything you're working on there, whatever you're doing is a certification, a project, or lab. Just put it on there and just keep putting it on there. Keep growing your network. It's just throw it. Just keep throwing it at that wall, and like there's benefits that come out of it. So absolutely great advice. All right, Charles made a great suggestion in the private chat with like doing the last two questions together since like yes or no. So we're gonna do a combo question for our last question, and then we're gonna head into the chat for Q&A. All right, so our last two questions were, one, how has your career progressed since graduating from the bootcamp? And the last question was, would you do it all over again? So first part is, how has your career progressed since graduating from the bootcamp? And would you do it all over again? Let's get started first and foremost with Joshua D. Joshua D, how has your career progressed since the bootcamp? And would you do it all over again?
So my career has progressed in a way that all I can say is I received many offers. I had to turn down, obviously most of them for various reasons. But I finally landed the one that I really always wanted ever since I was still serving in the Navy. I always knew that I wanted to have this exact current position with this exact company that I work with, and it has progressed in a way that it kind of showed me an avenue to where I want to go and what niche I want to choose and the options that are out there. So like the sky is really the limit when in cybersecurity. There's really nothing that you can do. You don't have to be one dimensional. You can go to any niche that you want to do. I'm currently in defensive security operations, but I have interest in cloud security. I could go GRC. I could go here. I could go there. I could do whatever. It just because I don't think there's any knowledge that you learn in cybersecurity that isn't going to be. It may not be useful right now, but at some point it will be. There's no useless knowledge in this industry. That's what I've learned. And would I do it again? Absolutely, 100%, 100%.
That's great. That's great. You know, like having an experience where you're like, yes, I would absolutely do it all over again speaks to the experience itself. So yeah, absolutely. Thanks for going to those details. Up next, we've got Lee. Lee, how has your career progressed since graduating from the boot camp, and would you do it all over again?
The short answer, from the bootcamp perspective, it's hard to say. I would do it, but maybe another type of boot camp instead. More of this, one that's more practical in nature. But since graduating from the boot camp, I took a lot of lessons learned and just applied them to everyday life, and really been just upskilling almost every single day since that boot camp graduation date. So I went from tech support to DevOps engineering to security engineering and architecting and cloud security, and even had a chance to go back to that same boot camp that I graduated from. I went back there as a part-time teacher or assistant to actually help the other people who was going through that boot camp as well, and giving them basically the shortcuts of knowing what you need to actually learn ahead of time instead of waiting to the end to get your job. So
yeah, absolutely. And would you do it all over again?
Yeah, I would, like I said, but it'd have to be another boot camp that's more practical in nature, as far as like the skills learned. But yeah, so.
Gotcha. Thanks for going through those details, Lee. Up next, we've got Josh M. Josh M. How has your career progressed since graduating from the boot camp, and would you do it all over again?
Yeah, I would say so I work I've been put in like charge of I was put in charge of I was made tech lead on a project. Like, so I was on a research project and they made me tech lead. So yeah, I've been in more like leadership responsibilities, I guess. Big takeaway there. Uh so yeah, I mean, like, yeah, my writing has definitely improved a lot. Um my researching skills, my ability to like get to the bottom of stuff, finding answers to questions I don't know the answer to, and methodology. So yeah, I would do it again. I would definitely do it again. And it kind of goes back to our thing on discipline, where it's like the fact that it was a class and I had to show up on Zoom, and like there was other people around, like, and we were kind of doing it like the group thing, like, helps me a lot, because like it's not that I struggle to be self-motivated, but like to maintain.
Yeah.
So I get started a lot, but then it's like to stick with it, to keep going. Like, I sometimes fall off of stuff. So the fact that there was like a group of people, we were all doing it together, it's like it helped me keep going and continue. And also, like, it costs a lot of money, so I couldn't like make that money go to waste. So I had to like follow through on it as well. So
yeah, that's great. I think, like, you know, being able to kind of point to like specific skills or even improvements to your career that, you know, are pretty tangible is great. So thanks for going into those details, Josh. Up next, we've got David. David, how has your career progressed since graduating from the boot camp, and what do you do all over again?
Yeah, about a month and a half after the boot camp, I landed in my role at Graylog. So doing sim engineering, sim content development. It's got a lot of different titles. I've been here about 3.5 years, and moving more in the product development space, which is really loving that, solving problems for customers, and you know, slowly building a sim tool that's, you know, competitive to a lot of the other ones out there. Really love it. Love solving problems. Love being data focused and customer focused. Yeah, and would I do it again? Absolutely. I mean, I wouldn't have gotten I wouldn't have gotten to where I am today without the experience that I had within the boot camp.
Yeah, lovely. Thanks for going into those details, David. Next we've got Charles. Charles, how has your career progressed? How I word this for you? How has your career progressed since the bootcamp? And
Yeah.
what do you do all over again?
I guess for me it'll be a little different since I'm only
Yeah.
at an intern level, but I definitely feel more job ready. I guess I definitely have a greater sense of what it means to work in IT and cybersecurity.
Yeah.
And as for the second question, I guess I'll play devil's advocate and say no,
Mm,
because I guess I'll relate it to this analogy. If 0 is you know nothing about IT and 100 is you're the CISO, right? A normal person that joins a bootcamp like Springboard will go from 0 to maybe 10,
mm,
right? If I came in as a 5, I might only improve maybe to an 11 or a 12,
yeah.
right? So I guess it's what you come in with and how you approach it. If you
Yeah.
come in with 100 or 200 hours of watching cybersecurity and career content on YouTube, and you're ready in the midst of things, it's you can't get as much. You can get more out of it. It's
Yeah.
just you only can get so much out of a boot camp if you already know you've already came in with like 60, 70%, you know?
Yeah. Yeah.
So it wasn't for me, but I could see how it could be for everyone else
Yeah.
who's trying to transition. Yeah.
Definitely. Definitely. I believe in few expensive mistakes or decisions, depending on how you see it. I believe in like every now and then it's good to like kind of like make an expensive mistake or make an expensive decision that helps you like kind of like okay decide okay maybe I shouldn't have done this but I learned the lesson so I know like next time if I need to make a major decision like this with regards to like maybe put a lot of money into something in regards to like how it's going to take me forward whatever the case is I can make a better decision I can have better judgment with regards to that kind of thing so I definitely see like where you're coming from there I mean like you were able to like progress really fast without it but ultimately, like if whenever you want to make another decision in the future, you're kind of able to like have better judgment in regards to like if it's going to be worth the time and the money. So yeah, thanks for playing
Yeah.
devil's advocate there.
Yeah. You live and you learn.
Absolutely, absolutely. Up next, we've got Moja. Moja, how has your career progressed since graduating from the bootcamp, and would you do it all over again?
Yes, so I went from a lifeguard and pool operator at the YMCA to a cyber software engineer in a
Mm,
role that can literally support my family. Um, I have so much more. What I'd say I got the most career wise was confidence. I
mm,
when I first got the internship, it was for an internal research and development team, and what I really didn't feel like was that I belonged because I was
mm,
never given that much responsibility. As a lifeguard, you kind of watch the pool, and it is a lot of responsibility to protect people's lives and people from drowning, right?
yeah,
But it's not so much as, oh yeah, we have a task,
yeah,
and I know you're just an intern, but we're gonna put you on it, and it's gonna get reviewed, and it's gonna
yeah,
get given directly to a customer, or it's gonna get
mm,
you know put into the demo that we're about to do. Like lots of responsibility. I wasn't privy to that before, but it gave
yeah,
me the confidence, and that was it meant the world to me.
yeah,
It led me to also be able to afford school after once I got the full time role.
yeah.
So I got to do every goal that I wanted to for me personally. Would
Yeah.
I do it again? Yes, Empower, I don't think I brought it up, but Empower was free. So the only
Oh,
opportunity cost was time. And
wow.
would I go back for that time? Yes. Although Empower mainly tailors to help desk roles, it would
Mm,
have been that instead of getting the internship I got with the internal research team, it might have been help desk at a local company or uh, yeah, a local company in my area. But
yeah,
I would have been able to use that as a pivot point to get bigger roles. And then Empower also, after you finish its original cert, it allows you to take the next certs like for free as well. So you do well in the first one, then sign up for Security Plus. Okay, you do well in that one, sign up for the cloud program. Okay, you do well in that one, sign up for it. So it just kind of keeps providing more and more upskilling opportunities, and the job placement team is with you throughout. So yeah, for sure.
Wow. Okay, that is like a lot, especially for free. So I think that's like definitely a huge value add with regards to your career and everything. So yeah, that sounds like a lot of value. So thanks for going to that, Moja. Here I'm gonna link another live stream that we did about 3 months ago about asking help desk folks about how to transition to cybersecurity. So if you're interested in kind of like that career path, I'm going to leave a link to it in the chat here, just in case anyone's interested in that. All right, so let's move on to last but not least, Mr. Nigel. He's about to drop some gems. Nigel, how has your career progressed since graduating from the boot camp, and would you do it all over again?
Yeah, my career has progressed. You know, it's been a blessing. Starting in help desk and only being it for 8 months, transitioning to a junior role 2 months after the boot camp, and then a year later becoming a senior threat intelligence analyst, leading and implementing the program throughout the enterprise. Has been a great transition as well as a blessing. So that's been my career, and you know, just being able to learn and understand that when you're in cybersecurity and many other things, that you're a student always, right? Imposter syndrome is always going to be there. You're always going to be in meetings with people smarter than you. It's just understanding that and just getting better every day. So for me, 100% the trajectory has been good after the boot camp. And would I do it over again? I would, but I would be more specific in the boot camps. Something that is a boot camp that maybe be more niche. So like, let's say a boot camp that's talking about a high demand skill like SIM or SOAR, right?
Yeah.
There's a boot camp, Ellington Cyber Academy, that specifically focuses on just SIM and SOAR technologies. Well, there are two technologies that most enterprises are going to use. And, you know, you have that kind of background to be able to, you know, obviously implement these products and do those kind of things. Very high demand skills that you'll get right off the bat. All the other methodologies and learning how to, you know, use a terminal and scripting, like you can learn that open source, like I said earlier, but learning those very niche kind of high demand skills are the boot camps I would target if I was to do it all over again.
Yeah, I like that, you know, kind of like reflective sort of, you know, answer with regards to like being more niche and specific about like what kind of boot camp you would have gone to. And you mentioned Kenneth Ellington. He's like the founder of the Ellington Cyber Academy, and we've had him on the podcast previously. I left a link to the video we did together, and yeah, his boot camp is great. You know, I've been a judge for you know, some of a previous cohort, so I think that's great, you know, advice. Like you could be very, very specific about what kind of boot camp you're going to, because generally cybersecurity is like, you know, super specific. Your role is typically super specific, except if you're like a generalist at like a bigger company, or, you know, or, sorry, at a smaller company, whatever the case may be. But ladies, gentlemen, thank you so much for tuning in. Thank you so much for listening. Thank you so much for everyone who is, you know, kind of being part of this so far. So we already have Joshua D. He's got his Durek on. He's ready to go. So we're gonna go into the chat, and like go through questions from everybody panel wise. So feel free to like just jump in and, you know, kind of give your opinion on the questions that we're gonna go through. So let me kind of see. First question we got here is from SC. What does building a personal brand look like? What actionable steps have been taken? Anyone want to take that?
Yeah, I can jump in.
Let's do it.
Yeah. So building a personal brand is slow. It is not, you know, you're wanting to jump in and get to 10,000 subscribers on YouTube crazy fast. I mean, you can ask anybody here, Day himself, he's been working at it a long time, you know, and I've been seeing him grind, and it takes a lot. You know, actionable steps that I've taken. I've been posting on LinkedIn for about 3 years now, 2.5. Yeah. And, you know, for a while I was, and I still am, just, you know, every day trying to post something. A lot of it is whether it's relative information or something you're really, really good at. I've leveraged my background as a recruiter to do a lot of resume writing and helping people with resume writing, and using my niche in sim engineering, and posting about what does a day in the life look like, and building from there. Personal brands can help you multiple ends. You can either use it to get a job in the niche that you're looking for, whether it be security analytics, security engineering, or creating a side hustle. Like if you find something you're really passionate about, something you have a skill in, you develop an audience, whether it's on YouTube or Twitch or LinkedIn. For me, it was LinkedIn, and a lot of it was like I went from bootcamp grad a month later, getting my job in cybersecurity. That's kind of where I've really sat my niche in for a couple of years now, is just how can you upskill? Like, where are really good places to find free information? My experience with boot camps, and just kind of my own story. And people love vulnerability. They love realness. They don't love, people can see straight through, fake stuff.
Yeah.
So just be real, authentic. And it can take you so many different ways. I'm sure if you asked Day when he started his, growing his personal brand, where he would be, right, you just crossed, what is it, 40,000 subscribers on YouTube? Yeah. I mean, I think I remember when you crossed 10. And it is not something that happens overnight. It is something that happens a daily grind.
Yeah. Absolutely. Anyone else want to chime into that?
I guess I can give a general answer to that question. So a personal brand can help you as much as it can hurt you. If you've watched any sort of Hormozy content, you would understand this, or any other person on YouTube that talks about building a brand, building a company, building building something like from the ground up to like 8-9 figures, right? If you go too general, you're speaking to no one. If you go too niche, you'll alienate people that don't really vibe with your content, right? If you're too professional, you'll, I guess, alienate the Gen Zers, the people that love memes and brain rot content. If you post like just funny memes on LinkedIn, you'll definitely alienate some older managers who don't like the new style of how information is sent out into the wild. But you'll get some great managers that'll be like, oh, this guy's funny. Yeah, you'll get like the startups, the DoorDashes, the Netflixes. They'll be like, oh yeah, we love this guy, like Okama Aiden. That guy's great. He's funny. And some other guys out there that post like funny, relatable content in a digestible manner, right?
Yeah.
Well, that's my answer.
Yeah, absolutely. Josh, did you want to ask something?
Yes. I would say try to always like talk about what you're doing. Now there's a lot of like online training platforms, and like it's like usually like a freemium model. Like try Hack Me, you can get a free account, or Let's Defend. Like right now I have a 90-day streak on Let's Defend and stuff. Like so like there's a lot of things where it's like every time you like accomplish something, like finish one of their like modules, you can like share it out on LinkedIn, and then people know that you like know the content.
Yeah.
And that just helps you. Because I think the more you talk about like, oh, I know Splunk, or I know Elastic, I know I did this tutorial, or and I have this skills, like that's your brand.
Yeah.
And those are specific things you can do. Like yeah, I'm not saying like share every day or something, because it will get people will ignore you. But it's like once a month or something, just share like, oh, okay, I'm doing this, da da da, I'm doing that. Like, and then also you can like don't be afraid to like message people. Like there was Black Hat recently, and like I'm doing a project with Miter Caldera, which is the adversary emulation thing, and
Mhm.
I messaged someone on LinkedIn who works at MITRE, who's like in charge of the whole program, because I was like, oh, I'm a fan of it. I want to be friends with this person, and they accepted my request, and it's like I've never met them, but the fact that I was able to like cold message them on LinkedIn and make a new friend is like, oh, like networking, like now
Yeah.
I know that person. So it's like, people, you meet people, like it's not, people are not, don't be shy, is what I'm trying to say.
Yeah.
Like, don't be
Yeah.
shy and like put yourself out there.
Yeah.
It'll help you in the long run because then it's like easier to like sell yourself later.
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely. Most definitely. And, you know, like, truth about things is like, no one's going to remember like how hard you worked, how much time you spent in your office. What they're going to remember is the fact that you had a 300-day streak on TryHack Me. You were top 10%. So definitely got to make sure you share that all the time you can. Next thing we're going to go into question wise is, let's see, next question. I think this one was specifically for Moja. Moja, you currently enrolled in Empower, Canada or USA?
Hey, I graduated Empower in 2019, and I did Empower USA. They had opened up a branch in Maryland, so
Gotcha. Let's do this one like rapid fire. Each and every one of you, Josh, Lee, Josh M, David, Charles, Moja, and Nigel. Rapid fire question. I know some of you already alluded to this, but just like give the amount of time it took for you to get hired. Joshua D, how long did it take for you to get hired?
If I had went with the first job offer, I got offered jobs while I was still in the boot camp. It's a 20-week program. I got offers within the first 15 weeks. So but the job that I have now, from the start of boot camp to the end of until I got it's been a year. But I could have if I accepted the first job, it was within the first few weeks. I had not even gotten to the hands-on part yet. So
Gotcha. What about you, Lee? How long did it take to get hired, Lee?
From the start of the boot camp, 3 weeks, and from a 10-week program. So that's for me.
Gotcha. What about you, Josh M? Well, you already hired, Josh, but let's say how long did it take for you to like start taking up more responsibility and all that stuff? After the boot camp.
From the boot camp, like I guess like 2 months. So like after I graduated and like passed the exam, I guess it was like 2 months later, I was put on that project and they decided to put me as tech lead. So yeah, given the more responsibilities, so it started having impact. So to answer your question, the boot camp started having impact on my job 2 months after I had finished the boot camp, if that's what you're asking.
Yeah, that's the answer to my question. Let's go on next to Charles. How long? Oh, actually, never mind. You already answered this. You didn't even finish boot camp. It was like it's 2 months, right? Gotcha. Let's move on to Moja. How long after the boot camp? How long did it take to get hired?
similar to the other answers, it was during the boot camp that I got the offer, but they do the mock interviews closer to the end of the program. So it was about 3 months into the program that I got the offer.
Nice. What about you, Nigel? How long into did it take to get hired?
2 months.
Hmm.
2 months.
Was it into the program or after the program?
After the program.
Gotcha. Cool. Next question. When I saw here was, I think switch my screen. Next question was for, where was it? Dang, I literally just had it. It was for somebody. Yeah. So not that one. Not that one either. I think it was for Nigel. Yeah, it was for Nigel. Nigel, how did you go into cyber threat intelligence after bootcamp? And do you do you offer mentoring?
So why did I go into cyber threat intel after the bootcamp? Cyber threat intelligence is a very niche part of cybersecurity in general. It's very interesting. So initially I was really into vulnerability management, but the role that I was applying for was vulnerability management and cyber threat intelligence. So it was kind of a combined team. And once I got on the team and I started learning more about cyber threat intelligence, I was like, oh yeah, I definitely want to do that. So that's kind of the reason why I got in cyber threat intelligence. And do offer mentoring. Yeah, so I do mentor people like unofficially, but I am I've curated a course that will be with on Kenneth's platform, Ellington Cyber Academy, and I'll be teaching cyber threat intel fundamentals. So that's a way, if you're looking for mentoring, that you could reach out to me. That'll be coming out in like 2 months. So
amazing, nice work there. And yeah, we'll if it come out, so just let me know. I can put the link in the description so people can check that out. But yeah, that was a question for you, Nigel. Next one. This one is going to be for you, Josh. How job ready did the bootcamp get you, specifically level effect? I imagine you already working, so you were said already working. But yeah, I mean, you already answered this. Like it kind of, essentially like, got you improve your skills, improve your reporting, writing, and kind of helped you like kind of go into a tech lead sort of thing. Do you want to add anything into that?
Yeah, I would say like it's like 80% of what a real job is like, because like every job uses their own tools, so like you'll have to learn the specific tools and stuff, and like workflows kind of change a little bit, but like in terms of like the meat of the foundation of what you need to know, like how to find malicious activity, how to respond to phishing emails, how to do those kinds of things for a SOC analyst kind of job. It teaches you everything. Yeah, it makes you all the way. Yeah, 100%. Yes.
Gotcha. All right. The next one that we had was so we went through how long did it take Joshua. So this is for you, David. Do you have a lot of hands-on experience at Flatiron?
I guess I don't know what that question's getting at. I mean, I guess they're probably asking if we did a lot of like lab work. Yeah, I mean, we did a ton of CLI. Like I was able to come out of it and jump into my job and have no problem transitioning.
Yeah.
I mean, the final piece of the boot camp was a group project, and they handed you a large virtual network, and you had to do threat hunting. You had multiple different machines. You had a lot of Nessus scans that you were going through, and you had to, again, threat hunt, using Splunk to figure out where the malicious activity was, and look through the alerts that were triggered and create your report at the very end. So, that allowed me to have a lot of hands-on experience coming out of the boot camp, going into the working world, to where I was able to take a lot of what I learned and apply it to what I do today.
All right. Thanks for those details, David. This question is for everyone here. Is everyone here US based, or is anyone that's maybe somewhere else? Everyone's US based. Got it. So these are all US based responses for anyone who's wondering. All right. Let's see. It's the next question. So it is safe to say pretty much everyone landed the role by or before graduating from the bootcamp. Yes, that is very correct.
I can hop in and answer.
Oh, yeah.
I can just provide some insight, I guess, into this entire chat. There's definitely survivor's bias. I'll tell all the chats this right now. There's definitely survivorship bias. If we are only in this chat because we did good. Most people would not speak negative of something they paid thousands for and hop on a live stream with hundreds of people watching.
Yeah.
I'll tell you guys that. So
Yeah.
if you want to take everything that we said in this 2 hours with a grain of salt, that's your your thing, but
okay. I want to add something to what you're saying.
Yeah, go ahead. Yeah.
So I will say that like it wasn't perfect. Level effects wasn't like, there were like some things, like some of the content is like fast paced, and okay, it's like a lot of like they don't handhold, so like they try to cater it to all levels of experience. So like there is some kinds of like, okay, some of it is like not good if you have experience, and then some of it is like super advanced. So like they try to cater to all levels, so it will feel off at times. Like you will feel out of place at times, because like it's just hard. Like cybersecurity is hard, and like everybody has different knowledge.
Yeah. And all those different complexities.
Can I
Yeah, go ahead, Nigel. Oh, sorry, Mojo.
I want to 100% agree with what Charles said. I think another tidbit I want to add to that is that another factor you have to keep in mind is salary expectations post whatever role you get from the bootcamp. One thing Empower does, it is free, but when you do get your internship, like it might not be like that huge of an amount that you might be expecting. So if you already have a good job, and I noticed some especially ladies that like might have been supporting a family or something, and they would come out of the program and they would assume that the role that they would get or internship would be way above where their salary was at the moment, so they would forego certain internships because the salary might have been the same. And I think that's a big one, because sometimes the internship might not give you the salary, but the job that potentially comes after the internship will change your life entirely, but not everybody can take advantage of that.
Yeah, absolutely. I totally relate to that one. My first internship was paying me about $15 an hour. And that like wasn't that much money. That's just like it's just okay enough. Thankfully I was like still like a freshman in college. So like I didn't need to like support a family. But after that, my first job was paying like my first full-time job after the internship of 6 months was like paying about $50K, and then afterwards like that kind of like went up and up like to over $100K. So like that kind of gives you like leverage to like build more experience and then get jobs that could be paying you more competitive salary rates. So yeah, thanks for chiming into that. Next question I want to go over here is how important is it to do an in-person versus virtual bootcamp for curriculum learning, social networking, and mentorship reasons? I'm thinking about full stack or Flatiron in NYC. So everyone has a mix of experience. Does anyone want to like chime in to like support their cause, or to be like, no, don't do virtual or in person?
I'll jump in. Yeah, honestly, virtual is crazy hard. Even when I was in college, that's at least my opinion. I did it and I was able to do well. But like, for example, when I was in college and I was like, oh, I realized that I could take like one class in person and I could load up the rest virtual online afterwards. Yeah, it allows, it's a lot harder to stay focused when you don't have people around you holding you accountable. And I would say the same thing with virtual boot camps. It's so easy to have the lecture on and have Facebook or YouTube, whatever, playing on the other screen, or you're just on your phone, like half listening. No one's besides you taking notes. You're not meeting people. I would say this is another part. You're not meeting people who are going through the same slog that you're going through.
Yeah.
The kind of the virtual connections that I had were great because we were able to lean on each other, and the two guys in my cohort, we all got jobs afterwards, and it was great. But again, it's a lot harder than in person, I would say. I'd say if you had the opportunity to do something in person, mine was during COVID and nothing was in person. But if you can go to Flatiron in New York City, I they have like a really cool campus from what I've heard. I had a friend who did this software engineering boot camp and he has a job out of it now. Do it. That's my 2 cents.
Yeah, definitely. Anyone else want to chime in?
I would
I
have
could
to
speak
do.
on that.
Okay, go ahead. Yeah, go ahead.
So as far as like the in-person or virtual, I feel like that kind of it really depends on maybe like the type of person that you are, but also overall, I feel like it depends on honestly how bad you really want it to a certain extent, because there's gonna be drawbacks and difficulties either way. Mine was 100% virtual. If it was in person, I would have preferred that, because I feel like it would have been easier for me to learn, and also, you know, connections and actually just being around people, that would have been helpful. But the fact that it was virtual, it was more convenient for me. It was just more convenient. And as far as like social networking goes, I think as far as that goes, like for example, networking plays a huge part in this industry. Really, that's what I've learned. If it wasn't for networking, I honestly probably would not have the role that I got now.
Yeah.
Although you have all of the experience and you meet every requirement and then some, if nobody knows you, like it's difficult. They're gonna like go with somebody else who they feel is better. So referrals, being able to network with people and get referrals. How I got this job, I had multiple people in the hiring manager's ear. Basically, was like, "Hey, this guy here, you need to, you know, look into him. You know, hey, he's been applying. You know, this role been applying for, you know, like 2 years now. He has all the experience. Why not try him out? He's right across the street. You know, super convenient, like literally across the street. So, like networking, yes, network. Meet as many people as you can meet, whether on LinkedIn or at any tech conferences if you can make it, or just like local little conferences in the area that may be free or whatever. Like, you know, there's virtual things that you can attend, and just attend, just network, speak to people. You never know who you'll meet, and you'll never know what opportunities that you can provide them, or which opportunities that they can provide you, because there's always someone who knows something that you don't know.
Yeah.
Like that's one of my main goals, is to spread the word, like mentor people, and like let them know the things that I wish somebody was telling me. Like I wish I knew these things that I know now. So that's what I'm like so eager to like let everybody else know, because this industry, there's room for all of us. There really is room for all of us. I know everybody says, "Oh, it's cybersecurity. Everybody's trying to do it." Well, yeah, because there's room for all of us.
Yeah, absolutely,
So,
absolutely.
Yeah, mentorship it's super important. Just reach out to somebody. A lot of us are just open to tell you whatever you want to know.
Yeah, absolutely.
If you know it, I'll let you know.
Yeah, I want to leave time for other folks to chime in, and David has to leave now. But David, thank you so much for joining the stream. Thank you so much for taking out your time to do this. Do you want to add any like last pieces before you leave? I know Charles is going to come up after you, but anything you want to say before you go?
Yeah, just one thing really quick. Someone asked if being a SOC analyst should be the fundamental beginning, and I would say does not have to be. Your tech career can begin, you know, now as someone who doesn't have a job, where you're upskilling and you're learning and you're growing. It could begin as growing a side hustle through that learning and you know, posting on LinkedIn, growing a YouTube channel, and you can also begin at help desk. My role is not a SOC analyst. I'm helping build a SIM tool similar to Splunk. It's called Graylog. That's my company. And me, along with a lot of other people on my team, do have a lot of SOC analyst experience, and you have to 100% have the mind of a SOC analyst when you're building pipeline rules and you're building dashboards and alerts. But there are so many more different roles. Like what I'm looking to transition to is product development, program management. You have sales engineering. You have, teams where you're doing demos for customers to sell a specific product. Guess all that to say is, don't be one track minded. There are so many other different paths out there.
Yeah, absolutely. It's been a pleasure having you, David. Thank you for doing this. And, I think your insight and your experience is going to be super valuable. So I'm going to let you go now, but thanks for joining us.
Yep. Thank you.
Take care. Bye. All right. Charles, I didn't forget about you. I'm going to bring you back on to answer that question. So back to that question, you wanted to chime in.
Yeah, I got you. Yeah, David was great. I'll definitely reach out to him later if I ever need anything. But let me see. What is this question? Oh, I have a couple of hot takes on this. So I have very strong opinions if anyone hasn't noticed that yet. So I want to answer the second portion, the social networking. So for that portion of the question, if you're not going to network online, you're not going to network in person. I'll tell you that right now. The pressure that comes with just sending a message to someone online is non-existent compared to walking up to someone and asking, yo, I need this, right? As for the cost of in-person to virtual, I can't speak on all boot camps, but the difference is so big that if you're going to do an in-person boot camp, you might as well go to school. I'm dead honest with you. You might as well go to school. You might as well get the degree, because a lot of the cost is very similar. Rutgers is 15,000 a year. That's 15. Yeah, that's very similar to what a boot camp will cost for like a 6 to 8 month boot camp. Yeah. Although it might be like twice as expensive or 3 times to get your degree, a degree will help you much more long term, especially in terms of career growth. As for, let me see, mentorship. No, I don't really have an answer to that one. Yeah, those are my 2 answers. Yeah.
Gotcha. Thanks for chiming in there.
I agree. Sorry.
Oh, go ahead.
I just wanted to say, what he's saying is true. Okay, you need to getting a degree. A lot of positions will be a paywall. So getting a degree is arguably better than, not better, but they impact you in different ways. So what are you looking for? Are you looking for hands-on skills, or are you looking for a brand, right? Again, you need a brand because there's something called DoD 8570. So some people, you have to have Security Plus for certain jobs. You have to have bachelor degree. You have to have master's degree. So all these things matter. So but in terms of hardcore skills, the boot camp is the main thing. And learning it in virtually, eventually you're gonna have to work remote in some fashion, right? Not all of us live near a company. All the advanced tech companies are having remote work because they understand everyone lives in different places. Some people live in the area where there's no company around. If you live in an area where there's no company around, you have to work remote. So if you have to work remote, you have to get used to thinking online. I understand it's cool, the social aspect of being in person, yes, but again, it's just a matter of finding the right boot camp for you.
Yeah.
Right. And yeah, just focus on the hands-on skills more than oh, am I being mentored? Am I being social networked? Yeah. What are you getting out of it?
Yeah. Interesting, dissonance and perspectives there. But I think ultimately, the main thing I want to point out there is what works best for you, right? I think another thing you got to factor in is the fact that some people might have families, focusing on a in-person bootcamp might not be as sustainable for them as a virtual boot camp. Some people might have restrictions or physical restrictions, whatever the case is, that might not let them literally be able to function in a physical boot camp, and a virtual one might be better for them. Some people might just love the fact that they're going to be able to meet people in person, and that's, you know, the physical bootcamp might be a lot more better for them. So ultimately, just gotta think about yourself, what works best for you, what you're comfortable with, and, you know, kind of adapt to that, right? Like regardless, like whether you're remote or physical, you're gonna have to learn how to network, how to communicate with whatever medium you find yourself in, you know, or else you're not gonna get things and you're gonna be able to like progress. So whatever it is, I think you should just like choose what works best for you and then adapt to that, right? If it's remote, learn how to communicate remotely, learn how to like meet people remotely, learn how to use all of your different mediums and all of that. If it's in person, learn how to be confident, learn how to talk to people, all of that stuff. Either way, whatever works best for you. Let's move on here. I want to round this up, like hopefully within the next 15 minutes, so that we can kind of go to our beds and sleep if you're going to be sleeping this Friday night. There's a question here. Let's see. For Nigel, what was the Splunk Academy mentioned? This was a Ellington Cyber Academy. I'll just drop a link to it in that in the chat. Let's see. Another question here. Would you, any of you gentlemen, agree that being a SOC analyst should be a fundamental beginning skill for all cybersecurity professionals? David answered this question earlier on. Does anyone want to chime into this?
So I could chime in here. So sorry.
Carlos, you can go first. Whoever's after.
Yeah, I also want to chime in.
Okay, I got you, Josh.
So
Charles.
I don't know if I can present in here. Am I allowed to or no?
You should be able to. You have permissions.
Okay. So there's a lot of paths in let me see, in cybersecurity. If you look at the certification roadmap, you can get a good sense of the different paths. So I'm not too sure what SOC is under, but SOC is one of these. So right here on the right side. So SOC is this path right here. The certifications just correlate with the type of path within cyber. So depending on what you want, there's a lot of entry level roles, mid level roles, and high senior level roles. These are the certifications again, but the certifications, generally speaking, correlate with the style of role that you're getting and the level of role that you're getting. So reference this if you are having trouble understanding, I guess, what are the different paths in cyber and what certifications correlate with them. Yeah, that's my little spiel. So
yeah, absolutely.
In one sentence, SOC is one path of many paths in cybersecurity. There you go.
Yeah, I think that map, what's his name, Paul Jeremy, that has what he has there is really, really good, like certifications wise and just domains wise. Josh, wanted to chime in?
Yeah, I was just gonna say, like, yeah, what he said about it's one path, but also like me, I branched out. I'm a researcher now. I'm a SOC analyst anymore, and it's like I don't know if I'll go back because security research is a more interesting job. I mean, okay, so there's a caveat to being a SOC analyst is that you can get burned out really easily if you find the wrong job. So like some jobs, not every SOC is the same. Like some SOCs are like more modern in their like way of doing things, and then some SOCs are like more primitive where they just want you to do a ticket and get out, and they don't want you to learn, and they don't care if you learn or not. So it's like you have to understand that, like, okay, if you're gonna do SOC path, find the right job, because not all jobs are gonna give you a chance to like learn different skills. And also, it's like you can start wherever you want to. There, like, if you want to do red team, like start trying to build a brand to apply for red team jobs. If you want to do GRC, find out how to get a job in GRC. Like, and maybe you might have to use SOC as your first job as experience, and then move into like forensics or like, detection. But so it's not going to be like, oh, straight up like what you want to do per se. But like, again, everyone can build a home lab, everyone can build whatever they want to do home, and you can just do it in a lab. And then put that on your resume, put that in a GitHub to say like, oh, I know how to do it at home. Haven't done it at work, but at least I can do it and put it on my GitHub to say like, okay, I've done this.
Yeah, absolutely. I think just kind of like being able to kind of like translate what you want to experience, and kind of building something around it, be able to show like you have some knowledge about it and you're able to kind of like apply that. Absolutely, is going to be valuable. All right, so I want to run this up as soon as possible. Last question we're going to bring is from our private chat, which is, did you know? Let's see. Did you wait? Hold on a second. Before I go into that, did someone else want to chime into that? Okay. All right. So the last question is, did you know if you wanted to do blue team or red team after doing the boot camps? Did they give you an insight into what cyber role you want? Anyone want to chime into that?
Yeah, go ahead.
I'll kick it off. The first internship I got was red team focused, so I think what I was maybe looking for, I didn't really have a choice of between the two. But then when I got into it, I liked my team. I liked what I was learning. I liked, what the program's focus was. So I kind of kept gravitating towards it, and I've been predominantly like software, cyber, purple, I guess, ever since. But I think if I was exposed to blue more, that might have been where I would have gone. So I think it really depends on the opportunity given.
Gotcha. Nigel, did you want to go next?
I didn't know if I wanted to do blue or red team after the boot camp. Like I said, obviously it was. I mean, I'm conflicted. I feel like vulnerability management is kind of both. I mean, technically we're scanning system, but semantics. Anyways, but as I'm in my role now and just understanding the whole threat landscape and the threat actors, obviously I'm into all that nerdy stuff and knowing the my names and all that cool stuff, I guess. Red team is definitely more, I'm leaning more that way and BAS tools like breach and attack simulation tools and stuff like that. So I didn't know, but now that I'm, kind of have more knowledge of the field, definitely want to eventually get into that side of the realm and then explore that.
Gotcha. Lee, did you want to chime in?
Yeah, so for me, I didn't know which one I wanted to do, but I just know I wanted to do something that was a technical role for the most part, which is why my first roles outside of my boot camp wasn't cybersecurity per se. I still don't know the hype behind just having cybersecurity in your title, even though that's where I found my way into, but I just wanted to do something that I enjoy doing, which is what I did do at the startup company when I was doing some DevOps engineering, working with cloud environments, doing some automation tasks. It doesn't have the cybersecurity word in the title, but I did some also security policy implementations, and I wore multiple hats at that role. So, but for the most part, I was mostly doing development operations, doing code reviews and X, Y, and Z, things like that. And then I was just recruited for a security engineering role outside of that, which this security engineering role mostly focuses on a mix of 3 domains, a little bit of red, a little bit of GRC, and a little bit of blue teaming, far as all the different things that I'm tasked with doing now. So,
yeah.
Okay. I just want to, I don't know, this could be out of pocket, but I would say having cybersecurity in the title, or at least being under that umbrella at a company, is way different than being like under the infrastructure as far as pay. So I could be a cybersecurity engineer, or I could be like a network engineer, and I'm pretty sure we wouldn't be paid the same. So I'm just throwing that out there.
Yeah. I think like with regards to titles and like specific details in titles, like companies sometimes use like specific things within a title to like literally have a reason to pay you less money. Like literally, some companies will literally hire you as a security analyst doing a security engineering job just because they want to pay you less money because engineers earn more than analysts, right? And also like within the team structure you're in as well, like if you're in a security team, sometimes like it might be an issue with like, I guess not an issue, but it might be something to consider because you might be in a cost center, not a revenue center. So you're security, you're not in a security company or MSSP, you're essentially like burning them money. They're not making money by having you, they're spending money by having you. However, if you're maybe like in infrastructure within a software engineering team that is doing like, the product that actually helps the company to sell their whatever services, right? You could, be looked at differently because you're within that particular team or, field, whatever the case is. So I think a lot of those things, those nomenclature, wording, titles, all of those things matter based off of the organization and how things work over there. But thank you all so much for chiming in. Thank you all so much for doing this, for being a part of this, for volunteering your time for this. I really appreciate each and every one of you. We've been on here for close to 3 hours now, and right now we have over 320 people watching this live across multiple platforms. So thanks to everyone who's been watching this so far. And yeah, this has been great. We've shared a lot of knowledge with regards to boot camps. Everyone shared their experiences, their boot camps that they went to, what worked for them, what didn't work for them. Everyone's details will be linked in the description. So yeah, definitely like take all of this knowledge that you've gotten from everyone's conversations and experiences and anecdotes and apply it to like, whatever you want to do. Like I'm not here to tell you to not go to boot camps or to go to boot camp, but from what you've heard so far, you can make an educated decision if you're going to go through the boot camp route and you're going to be able to decide which one works best for you and all that stuff. With that being said, thank you to everyone who's watched. Thank you to everyone who's participated in this. And yeah, that's it for this video, this live stream. The next one will probably be around WGU. I saw a lot of buzz about that on social media. People have been texting me on LinkedIn about that. So I might actually make a whole different kind of live stream panel about it like this. So keep an eye out for that. But yeah, that's it for me. I'm going to let everyone go. It's pretty late now. So yeah, thank you all so much. Have a great weekend and I'll see you in the next one. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
All right.